Good evening. Let's call the order for the Conservation Committee meeting of
5th.
the 5th. So this meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to the order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. Meetings will have a question and answer session following each public hearing. Abutters will be able to the ability to raise their hand, and we really appreciate if everyone keeps their comments to less than 3 minutes and try not to repeat something that's been said. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to roll into, is there any additions or omissions to the agenda?
Seeing none.
Maybe before we're done, if we have 2 seconds about some for the Trails group and to remind everybody about town meeting. So, thank you. Okay. Water line replacement.
Frank, don't we have to have an acceptance of the agenda?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion for the acceptance of the agenda?
I'll move so.
So moved by Richard. A second. By Doug. All in favor. Penny.
She's out there.
She's muted.
Yes.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Jen.
Yep.
Andy.
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you. Okay. We'll start right into the IDAs. On April 5th, 2021, during the 5:30 meeting in Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request Town of Scituate for a determination of applicability of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to a water main replacement on multiple streets in Scituate. That's pretty broad. About other interested parties are invited to attend. Information for this access to the virtual meeting is available in the agenda posted on the town website. Is anybody presenting that, Amy?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Good evening.
Can I get it? Hello, I'm Cassandra Albrecht. I work for Weston and Sampson Engineers, and I'm here to represent the Town of Scituate Department of Public Works for this project. So I'm sure you've heard of previous phases of this project. This is phase 4B of the Scituate water main replacement projects. There's been about a dozen other phases, and I was here a couple months ago or probably more than that, for phase 4A. But this project, the town is replacing old 6-inch and 8-inch water mains in Old Oak and Bucket Road, Brook Street, and part of Tilden Road. And they're replacing those mains with new 8-inch main. All this work is occurring within the existing roadway. Typical water main construction. The trenches will be paved over each night. There is work occurring within the wetland buffer, but not in any wetlands. And when the work's in the wetland buffer, the contractor will place compost filter tubes on either side of the road to protect the wetland, and we'll have catch basin protection on all catch basins throughout the project. So this is a pretty standard utility construction project, but happy to answer questions.
Brendan, any thoughts on that one?
No.
So this is pretty straightforward in the road kind of work.
It is, yes.
Andy?
No questions for me.
Jen?
No.
I'm good.
Penny?
Nope.
Doug?
No questions.
Richard?
No questions.
Amy?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Appears to meet the requirements of a negative finding. These projects apply strict BMPs, so I think we're all set with this.
Okay. Do we know if there's any staging areas planned for any of these projects?
I believe that the contractor was going to be speaking with Sean Carthy about staging areas. I haven't heard on where they decided, but I believe they were going to be discussing that this past Friday.
That seems to be where we usually go astray. The work in the road's usually pretty straightforward, although we did have a site on Lawson Road where the water line went off the road some and into a wetlands area that had to be squared away. But it's an RDA, so we don't have a pre-construction, but maybe they could get back to us with where they plan to stage this, because a couple of times that's happened and it's been adjacent to a wetland or something, and it wasn't right along the area that was proposed. So, I mean, Sean's really good about working with Amy, so we just want to keep an eye on that.
Okay, I can help facilitate and make sure that Sean gets in touch with Amy on that.
That would be super. And just,
No problem.
as they are working along some areas that definitely have some wetlands. So making sure the contractor's aware of those as he goes by them. And they'll be putting out erosion control when they're up against a wetlands area, I assume.
Said that.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah. Okay,
They'll be using compost filter tubes on both sides.
great. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
A motion?
Penny? Yep.
I make a motion for a -3.
Thank you. Go to second.
Second, Doug.
It's Doug. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. This one's already been continued. 215 Tilden Road.
It's continued.
Continued from 3:15 to
From
tonight.
yeah, it's been continued from 3:15.
So they're here.
Right, so you don't need to read the public hearing notice.
Right.
You can we can go right into it. I think I saw Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, there you are.
Oh, right. Thanks, Amy. Jeff Assett here with Morse Engineering here on behalf of the applicant, Stephen Connolly. And yeah, as you noted, this is a continued hearing for an RDA for 215 Tilden Road. Since the last meeting on the site plan, we noted the existing buildings to remain, and then also extended the wetland line towards the easterly property line. That wetland line did come closer to the work than we originally had. The work in the 100-foot buffer includes 3 sonotubes associated with the deck on the back of the house. A corner of the garage is partially in the 100-foot buffer, and the septic system is within the 100-foot buffer. I'll note that all work is within areas that were previously disturbed. There's no work within the 50-foot buffer, and along the limit of work, there will be a 12-inch diameter mulch sock. Thank you.
Okay. Penny, I think you're anxious to discuss this.
I just
Go ahead.
feel it's so. Okay, I'm up. Yes, it's changed. This whole project to me, anyways, has changed from the first time it came in. I now have changed my feelings completely on an RDA because the whole septic is in the 100-foot buffer, which is our jurisdiction. I know it's local, but it is ours. And I was shocked, to be honest with you, how much the line changed. So that's about all I can say. I am not happy with this SNRDA at this point. I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay.
That's it.
Jen?
Yeah, I don't know that I need to add anything new. I echo Penny's sentiments and concerns.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, no questions. I think the changes, confirm my previous feelings.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no additional questions.
Doug?
I'm trying to remember. This came
Doug,
back.
you're recused on this
Oh,
one.
that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought so. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, sorry about that. Richard?
No, I've got nothing new that we didn't bring up last time.
Okay. Amy, you want to add anything to this?
No.
Okay. Anybody in the audience to speak to this?
Seeing none.
Okay. Jeff, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the reason we're keeping it as an RDA filing is that typically we do septic systems as RDAs as opposed to NOIs. And that is the majority of the work. So yeah, that was the theory behind keeping it as an RDA.
All right. Well, I think you understand the issue that when we got this RDA, that wetlands line wasn't complete on that side where the septic is, and in fact, it kind of showed that the wetlands was tailing away when in fact it went much closer to the site. Something that we probably should have had in front of us when we first started that. So I think that's kind of changed tune for some of the members here. If you've got nothing else, I think we'll just go to a vote.
I make a motion for a positive.
Do I have a second?
Second, Andy.
Andy's got a second. So all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll follow up with the NOI as soon as we get it in.
Right?
Yeah, you might as well do it with the house, Jeff.
What's that?
You're going to just file that to deal with the house? Because if the house isn't part of that, we'll have some other order in there making sure that we do get the opportunity to look at that, the demolition of the house.
The demolition, okay. All right, we'll get that back into you right away.
It would make sense to me that you just do the whole project you would propose to do in the beginning.
Yeah, and demo the house. Okay.
And then think about some replication or whatever along those edges where it's in the 50s. So, all right.
Okay. Yeah, we can look into that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
25 Harvard Street on April 5th during the 5:30 meeting, the Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Kevin Arsenault for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to installing a fence and landscaping at property known as 25 Harvard Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access to virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. So this is Atlantic Coastal.
Yes, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
This is good evening. This is Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering. We have Love Howard. She's the landscape architect on the call as well. So thank you for the introduction. As you all know, Hummerock is a coastal barrier beach, and obviously any proposed work for putting a shovel in the ground triggers at least an RDA. And in this case, the intended scope of work is pretty much all landscaping along with a fence. Although the owner is probably going to hold off on the fence for a while, but we did want to put it on the plan as it's a part of the master plan, if you will. Could you just scroll to there should be a second sheet that shows the proposed landscaping.
It was there, but went away. There it is.
Oh, there it is. So let's see here. Yeah, there's all kinds of wonderful plants. Love is the expert on the plants. Love, are you on the call? Can you hear us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you want to just kind of talk through this qualitatively on some of the plants and kind of the layout? And then we can certainly open it up to any questions the conservation.
Sure, I'd be happy
has.
to.
Thank you.
So the Arsenals are new owners of this Hummerock property, and what's there existing there now is across the front, there is some leftover rugosa rose. There are two nice trees. One's a Juniperus virginiana, the other is a Pinus rigida, and they're quite lovely. And almost everything else that's on the property. There's some Prunus maritima, which is really nice. But everything else is basically just weeds, as well as burning bush and oriental bittersweet. So they want to keep it very beachy and very appropriate to the area. So the fencing that was proposed at the back right and also along what you see here, the left property line, has currently been eliminated. They want to see what their new neighbors to the left are going to do first, and they didn't want to feel like they were walling them out. They're actually really nice people. They want to add some Juniperus virginiana at the back, which will help screen their view to an area where there's a lot of parked cars, 10 to 12 parked cars most of the time. The area behind them to the left is already wooded, and it's primarily beach plum and Juniperus virginiana. So that's one of the reasons why we plucked that, to sort of replicate what's already in nature there in their yard. They want to keep the rugosa roses that are in the front only because they hold the sand really nicely. We will augment that with native grasses, a few types of native perennials, and we're going to add more Prunus maritima and some more pitch pine. All the grasses are panicums or spirobolus, and so they're native to Massachusetts, coastal dunes. And the only thing they want for hardscape, where they want to park there on the left, we would rebar in some edging, some landscape timber edging, which will hold in the crushed shell driveway. And then for walkways around the house, they just want rollout boardwalks. So they just come loose, they're epay, they're open, and you just roll them out and tack down the corners with rebar. So that's really what they want to do. They've eliminated the landscape lighting that was originally proposed. Currently, they've eliminated the fencing. And so that's it. You're kind of looking at it. Any other questions?
We'll start. Richard, you're down there. Let me go first.
Yeah, and coincidentally, this is Harvard Street is the first street headed south after the center of Hummerock, and virtually 2 houses away from the new fire station that's just starting today. So this is a tremendous improvement. I was at the lot yesterday. I know it very well, and it will really help shine up an area that has been becoming better and better all the time. So I love it. I don't have any real questions. It's really a nice setup.
Thanks. Oh, and we will put, just like I saw at the fire station today, because I was at the site there today as well. I saw the fire station had surrounded the entire site with an erosion sock, and that is on here. We're planning to do that.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug?
No questions. Plan looks great.
Penny?
Very complete.
All's good.
Jen?
Yeah, looks great.
Andy?
No questions for me.
Brendan?
I have no questions.
Amy?
Yeah, I think it looks like a great project. Appears to meet the requirements of a negative finding.
Okay. Just where is the parking for this house now?
It's right there.
It's right there.
So where we're proposing those 8 spaces,
Yes.
that's where they park now. It's just not very well defined.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Anybody in the audience for this?
Use the raise hand feature if you.
-3.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
I make a motion for a -3.
Second.
That was second is Richard. All in favor, Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much. Can I
Thank
say
you.
one thing to Doug Aberg?
Sure.
Okay.
Doug, we've
As long as it's nice.
never met. I just wanted to say hello.
Thanks.
That was it.
I was going to wonder if you caught on that was me.
With a voice. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
I've got fans everywhere.
I guess you do.
Ooh. Wow. I was wondering what she was going to say.
I was scared for a minute.
So Zero Glades Road on April 5th, 2021 hearing, right there at Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Kevin McGovern for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to removing two structures at property known as Zero Glades Road, Scituate, Mass. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information access to the virtual meeting will be available on posts on the town website. So, do we have any kind of a sketch or plan for that, Amy?
Here we go.
Okay. And who's presenting this?
I was looking for Kevin. I think he's as traveler
Oh,
potentially.
there he is. Great. Hi, Kevin. You're muted.
Hold on.
You got it. Oh, hold on.
Unmute. Oh, sorry. I think I muted him. And
Give us 1 second.
How about now?
We got you.
Good evening. How you doing? Good evening. Thank you. Yeah, so like you guys are aware of, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to clarify. In the picture you have up right now, I believe is the GIS map from the Scituate database, I guess, right? And the properties actual boundary lines are slightly different than this, so this is inaccurate. And I've spoken to all abutters. So the abutter for Big Rock Island is a gentleman named Brian Host. So he's the abutter to the south. If you look at this picture, item 94 is Little Rock Island. So my property goes west to 94 and essentially up to the stream. So this boundary here is a little bit off. It actually extends further west. But then on the west side, I abut a gentleman named Doug McClellan, who owns 3 acres west of me. And the other abutter, and the last abutter, and why I'm mentioning this, why it's important, is there's an abutter named Dan Carney, who is essentially, there's a lot after 96. If you see that last house, that's where you leads into my property.
Yeah.
And you access my property via 12-foot right-of-way, where there's already actually silt bags out there today from Brian Host's side of it. And then it essentially goes up to what is essentially like a right-of-way or a driveway or a wall on Dan Carney's property. So I just wanted to clarify that, A, the boundaries are a little bit off in this picture. And if you trace the deed history, it's kind of long and complex. Like I spent a large amount of time on this, and I can even, if I can share my screen, I could even show you where the property line is per the land court's judgment that was made. And if you ever go to the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and you pull up land court case 3705, you'll see where they drew the line and who some of the descendants were. That, this dates back to like the 1890s. But the long story short, what I wanted to just confer is the goal here was to donate the property and to maintain it as undeveloped land, so that it's, the right of way goes through what is essentially property owned by Dan Carney. And again, that's the lot that's like 95, or sorry, not 95, but next to 96 on this picture, which doesn't have a number on it right now. And then it's essentially a lot of marshland. There's the one house that you can see, which was an old fishing cottage. And then there's which you can barely see. And then there's a little tiny shed. So, the goal was obviously per all the conversations we have, for me to remove those structures and then donate it as land not to be developed.
Great. And I think maybe I'll start just a little bit. First, Mr. McGowan, we the commission, and really appreciate your considering the town for this and making that donation. And I think that's a great tribute to your dad, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies a little bit. I may have misspoke at the last meeting with regard to access to that, and we've heard from abutters with different concerns. So we'll vet all that. Our intention here, it's a marsh. We don't want to have it's not an intent to have a park or anything that we don't want people trampling this marsh or whatever. The idea is that it gets protected. We'll kind of clear up some things so that we know that the town has some access in some fashion to it. But I erred in saying that we'd be able to have a couple of spots there or something like that, and that hasn't all been proved out. The town will use their town council to confirm a bunch of the pieces as well, and it sounds like you working with your butters have sort of kind of unraveled a bunch of this, and we appreciate it. So it's not the intent of the commission to create a park here, but more to protect that, and we appreciate you working with us to do that.
Well, thank you very much. And yeah, like you said, I've spoken to all three abutters now, and as long as that's understood, the biggest concern was the upland parking, which would essentially be on what is land owned by Dan Carney, and we don't, in all fairness, to preserve his rights, we that's not my land, and I don't want to misconstrue it as my land. There's a right of way, and he's aware of that too, and we talked a lot about it in terms of like someone wants to take a walk or do whatever it is. Of course, it's already happening today, so the idea was just to kind of make it public space for people who, if they do want to do that, can go right ahead and do it.
Great. Thank you. And what we've done with the commission, when we've acquired other open spaces, there's always been a process to figure out some access and use and things like that. And before the commission launched ahead with anything, we'd be certainly talking with the abutters and getting public feedback and comment. But it's not the commission's intention to create some sort of park here or something like that. That was the goal. And I think you've requested, and we're all for it, some sort of memorial plaque, something for you.
Yeah, something small would be much appreciated, because that, it's just kind of like whatever, a little bit personal for me at this point.
For sure.
And I think it just would make me feel good. And I think when I do go there at some point, it would just, it's one of those things.
It's great. Thank you. Do you know how you plan? I guess the RDA tonight is basically to remove the building, and we'll have a chance. The commission members will have a chance to question this, and if there's anybody else that is on the line, they'll have the opportunity to talk in a second. But maybe you could just explain to the commission how you plan to remove the buildings.
Yeah, so there's two things going on right now. One of them, I had spoken with the abutter to the east, which is Dan Carney, and there's a gentleman who is, I think, in a local construction company. His name is Michael Ball, and I believe he's doing some work on one of these properties right there where someone has. I don't know if they're rebuilding a house exactly, but I think that's essentially what's happening. A raise and rebuild, and he's awaiting some, final approvals there. So we were engaged with him, and he went out and surveyed it, and he said, if I could get, my lighter equipment up along, what is this sort of? It's kind of like rock on that side. As you sort of start to go north or up the way you would think about it, it's like up almost the ledge that is on the side of Big Rock Island, plot 95. So these aren't like really big structures, and there's nothing in them. Like they're just like essentially a fishing cottage. There's nothing in there whatsoever. Nothing's hooked up. I mean, if worse came to worse and that's not allowed, I had mentioned to Amy that, if absolutely necessary, we could take it out with saws and stuff by hand if needed to. But I had also talked to Dan Carney, and he said we could maybe put a dumpster on the right of way, which is leading right up to the cottage, and it would basically abut the tiny shed, which to put it in perspective is like 1/4 the size of your regular backyard shed. It's just an old dilapidated thing that would take about 10 minutes to pull out. It's really the fishing cottage that you're looking at that needs to come out. And that could be done very easily too. And I was talking to Michael Ball. So it's just a matter of logistics of, is he 110% going to do it if you guys will allow for that removal? And, just finalizing it with him.
Mike served on this commission years ago, and he's a pretty responsible guy. Maybe what he could do is contact the office with some ideas or means and methods. We just don't want to trample the marsh in the process of that. So
yeah, of course, and he understood that. Like I don't know if Amy ever spoke with him, but I tried to connect.
I did.
You did? Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you already went over it or not, but like that was the, coordination I was trying to support to kind of get the process moving.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, I think that one of the things was just timing. So Kevin,
Sure.
we could talk offline about that.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you. Sorry to jump on that. Brendan, any thoughts?
No, nothing.
Andy?
No, I think it's great to remove it, and if we can get some confirmation that it will be done responsibly, it's great.
Okay. Jen?
I agree with Andy.
Penny?
My only question is, we had spoken about this when we were out there. They're going to leave the pilings in the ground, yes?
That would be the goal, that there's no need.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we don't have digging into the marsh.
Right.
Okay, just take the buildings out. No, I think I'm thrilled with it.
Doug?
No, I think it's good. That piece of property abuts other town of Scituate owned property as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We think so. We're going to work all that out, but that was the.
Yeah, no, I've done a little research in the area myself, so I think there's a big town parcel back there. So no, I think that's a great connection. Actually, I think that's. I think it's not a nice project. Yeah.
Richard?
We lose Richard?
Well, this is about as far from Hummerock as you can get.
Yeah.
So maybe Richard just lost interest. I don't know. Amy, you want to comment?
Yeah, so, we just want to see these cottages taken out in the least disruptive manner as possible. And, I did have a conversation with Michael Ball, and if he ends up doing the work, any contractor who does should contact the office so we can review it. But, they're going to come out of there pretty quick, I'd say. And, yeah, sounds good. Looks like it would meet the requirements of a negative finding.
Do we have anybody in the audience other than Mr. McGowan?
Chairman Snow, you do have Brian Host here. I have a bizarre unmute option as opposed to a raise hand. So I suspect I came in here through a bizarre channel.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Well, you're on.
Okay, I'm on. So I wrote a letter to the commission today after stopping by the Board of Health office this morning. Hopefully everyone has received that and had a chance to review it. But in summary, I strongly support the removal of the camp structures from this property. I strongly support the return of the McGovern salt marsh to its absolutely pristine natural state. I'm prepared to facilitate that process by providing additional staging area as necessary. I think most people that visit that property, generally tend to park on mine. I've left, the eastern end of my property open for the benefit of the neighbors. And each of them has received my permission to do overflow parking and turnaround there in the past. But obviously construction or demolition staging, is a little different animal. So I would just ask to not be on the hook for liability if people are going to use it. The one issue that I did want to raise in particular, and it caused me to visit the Board of Health just to confirm what I had, a recollection I had from work I did back in 2015 before acquiring Great Rock, is that there is a collapsed cesspool on the McGovern property, which is directly under the camp. And it's duly shown on the septic plan that was filed and approved. There's also a water line out to that camp. And I'm just a layman on this stuff, but it's my understanding that, there is a very specific process that needs to be followed for the abandonment of a cesspool. When I walk the marsh, I occasionally take a step and end up, well up to my knee. It would be even more frightening, I think, to step into a cesspool. So I am a little bit concerned about the safety of leaving that behind, and would just, ask that due process be followed and that cesspool either, be removed or filled or whatever the rules require in terms of safely, leaving the marsh behind. But apart from that, again, I want to circle back to where I started. I'm very, very much in favor of the McGovern salt marsh being restored to its natural state.
Thanks for your comments and your support on that as well. And maybe Mr. McGovern can be talking with you or the contractor or whatever if they need to work around there a little bit. And you're correct. When a septic's abandoned, what we don't want to do is a bunch of excavating in the marsh. And if there's a depression there or hollow or whatever, that should get filled in the process of demolishing the buildings. So we'll look at that. And then the water service, I'm assuming it's already shut off at the water main, and we can confirm that with the water department. I think they're not going to remove the old water line, but I'm sure they'll just cut it and cap it at some point. So great, thank you. Anybody else? I don't see anybody.
Saying none, Frank.
I make a motion for -3.
Do I have a second?
Second, Doug.
All in favor? Richard, did you come back? Did we lose Richard?
We lost him.
Richard is here.
Oh, you didn't lose me. I pushed the wrong button.
Oh.
I was there in the first place. I went out to that.
You did?
To the island, and I went out to the marsh. Yeah, I don't care that's the other end of town. Just because nobody comes down here,
Oh, okay.
No, I'm in favor.
So Doug second and Penny. Jen?
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Looking forward to seeing progress.
Andy?
Yes.
And Brennan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mr. McGowan.
Sure. Can I ask one real quick question? So
Sure.
what's the process like from here on out?
I think if you can work things out with whoever you're going to do that, just get in touch with our office. We typically don't do, we call a pre-construction meeting typically when we have a notice of intent. So the contractor would speak with the agent directly and just confirm how they're going to do the project and things like that. I think in this case, because it's a sensitive area, it'd be good for whoever you choose to do this.
Speak with Amy director.
Yeah, get to talk to Amy and get that sorted out. And then we've got approval already from town administrator to get town council involved. So with regard to the deeds and things like that, Amy, how will that happen? Do you have an attorney, Mr. McGovern, or how?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so we'll get them in touch with town council so that those kind of things can get resolved.
Right. So it's got to go to town council for review, and it takes a while, Kevin.
So anything we can do to help move that along, but so should that be through you, Amy?
No.
Should Mr. McGovern's attorney contact you, and then we can get them in touch with.
No. So I'll contact town council, and then, if we can get the name of your attorney, we can,
Sure.
or, we'll get them in touch with each other.
And in terms of orchestrating the removal, is the RDA approved at this point, or in terms of me speaking with the potential Michael, for example, right? So I want to make sure I'm communicating the facts. That's all.
So we've approved the RDA.
Okay.
And so then Mike or if whoever you choose should just get in touch with the office. We'll print out a little permit that should get posted somewhere, and we'll go from there.
Right, but the donation, though, settling that out and the transfer, that will take a little bit of time.
Any rough estimate? No,
I'm sorry. It depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up to town council.
If it's not moving along enough, let us know.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Okay, 22 Salt Meadow Lane. During this 5:30 meeting of the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Leo McDonough for determination of applicability of Wetland Protection Act, the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activity related to bringing fill to level a boat storage area on property known as 22 Salt Meadow Lane, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Who's on for this? Anybody?
I'm looking for Leo McDonough. If he's on the call, can you raise your hand? Otherwise I can just quickly go through what's on here. It's pretty straightforward.
Somebody's raised their hand. We got Mr. McDonough. Can you see him? This is Jody.
Yes. So good evening. I apologize. I'm not at home, so I'm not on my computer.
Sure. Why don't you explain to us what you want to do, Mr. McDonough?
Sure. So I've had this property, the two lots, one house, about 15 to 16 years. And that's where I keep my boats and some construction materials, gear. Right now there's a registered car on that piece of land. And when I first moved to Salt Meadow 15, 16 years ago, I had to keep the boat right at the edge of the cul-de-sac. So I just trying to push the boat back so it's not right out and exposed and kind of not an eyesore, but I'm a hands-on guy. I do all the work myself. I've wanted to push it back, but the grade was pitched, and I just thought it better for the neighbors, for my tools and my gear and the boat and the trailer to just move it back a little ways. And I've been planting evergreens for the last about 15 years too, to try to hide it from the street.
Okay. Richard, any questions for Mr. McDonough?
Well, I'm unclear as to exactly how much Phil is talking about, and is there going to be access from the cul-de-sac? I guess that's the only questions I really have.
So I did bring in several truckloads, and there was always access. It's just a dirt path. I'm not planning on paving. It's just a dirt path that was there and is still there.
Okay, and I guess other people can ask questions, but is the material you're dropping there similar to what's already there?
Yes, sir. It's just earth and rocks.
Okay. I'm good for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug?
Pardon me if you already said this. How much, Phil? Did you have a quantity? You're just filling in a low spot.
Not so much a low spot. It it tapered. The grade tapered down a bit. I did bring in several truckloads just so I can go back and to level it so that the boat.
So I got you. So the boat can sit up there.
So the boat can sit level. And like I said, when I first moved here, the bow of the boat was right out at that very, very close to the cul-de-sac curve there. And the path down to the. Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. No, I just trying to picture it in my mind. So
I did supply Miss Amy with some pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, we got them on the screen, I think. Penny?
Yeah, this is like after the fact, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You've already brought the fill in and you planted some evergreens and you're going to plant some more, right?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, there's.
Okay, no, because I was just looking at the pictures and no, I don't have a problem. Get the other evergreens in though. That's good.
Okay, I will. I've already, there's 20 small species. The deer have been eating some, but I've gotten, hold on, let me think of this. Thuja, green giant, is supposed to be a little bit more deer proof. And
yeah, they're good.
And Leyland cypress.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jen?
Yeah, I was initially a little confused as well due to the after the factness of this, but it sounds like we're in a good spot now.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay, or I'm okay.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, I think it seems reasonable. I guess I'm just, the resource areas are sort of around the edges of the property, right? Towards the south. I guess I'm asking anyone who knows that answer.
Amy?
It's tagged as land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Got it. Okay.
So this is I'm certainly no expert, but in my mind, this is upland. There's a number of years ago, just a few years ago, I did some part-time work building docks on the North River. That's how I learned what a phragmite is. There's none of those. There's none of those here. There's pine trees and other hardwood trees, big ones. I mean, big towering trees. I'm, 150 feet, I'm guessing, from or more from the marsh. You can see how long there's a dimension there that shows the lot line. So it's hundreds of feet from. It's all upland in my mind.
Yeah, I could see a boat where it was on the map. If the phragmites get to the front of your house, though, where that is, you're going to be in trouble. So let's hope they don't get there.
Nowhere near there.
Brennan?
Yeah, I have no questions on this.
Okay. Amy?
Yeah, so thanks, Leo, for coming in. This was an after-the-fact filing in response to some complaints that we got about Phil coming in. And so, I mean, the lot itself probably does contain some buffer, but it also is land subject to coastal storm flowage, similar to projects that would you've also approved, like down in Hummerock, for A-zone type projects for boat, leveling off the ground. So consistent with a negative finding.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this? Take a motion.
I'll make a motion for a -3.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
That was Doug?
Yes, it was. It was me.
So all in favor. Richard?
Yes.
All right, hold on. We have a hand.
Oops.
Okay.
Asking Kathleen Palmieri.
Where is she?
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, I just have a couple of questions.
Can you just your name and address, please?
Oh, excuse me. Kathleen Palmieri, 15 Salt Meadow Lane, Scituate.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I just want to know that when this is approved, will there be any more fill allowed, a cutting of trees, or does the project stop as it is?
Amy, do you want to?
This is just for the project in front of us.
So,
Okay,
but
so go ahead.
I think the question was, is the project done, or is there going to be more work being done?
No, that's my intention now. The project is done now for my purposes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you hear
Now,
that?
how about buildings that may be built on this? Will they need building permits or?
Yeah, a building, unless it's a shed under 120 square feet, requires a building permit. But our purview isn't the building department.
Okay.
If there's anything in any of our buffer areas, then Mr. McDonough would have to come to the file with the commission to do any building if he's within 100 feet of a resource area.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Or within flood zone.
Or within flood zone. So.
It's all flood zone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Seeing none.
Okay.
We'll go back to the motion of -3. That was seconded by Doug, I think.
Right.
Was, yep.
And I think I made it through.
I said yes.
Richard said yes.
Okay. Jen,
Yep.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Into the NOIs. 1719 Edward Foster. On April 5th at 5:30 at Town Hall, the Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of the Town of Scituate for work related to extracting 20 existing mooring piles, anchorings, the marine time center floats, and replacing with 26 new steel pipe mooring piles at location at 117, 119 Edward Foster Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting is available on the agenda posted on the town website.
Okay, looking for GEI to raise their hand and Stephen Moan. Okay, you're all.
Who have we got on?
Host is not allowing me on.
There he is.
Are we there?
Somebody, I can hear somebody.
Yeah, we control the mute, so.
He's down the bottom of the screen.
And he's muted. Still muted. There he is.
How's that?
Yep.
It's somebody.
All right. This is Brad Saunders from GEI.
Hey, Brad.
I
don't want to explain this to us a little bit.
But anyway, the proposal is pretty much what was just read as the public notice. We're replacing 20 existing timber piles at the Maritime Center with new steel pipe piles. The existing piles will be extracted and the new piles will be installed using vibratory methods and a soft start procedure. We're also adding 6 additional piles, and you can see on the right-hand side the proposed float and pile layout. In red, the 6 additional piles at the end of the marina there. And those will be the same size, 12.75 inches outside diameter. And so the total area of disturbance to land under the water is about 21 square feet, 20 and a half square feet, something about that, with all but about 4.5 square feet being the replacement of the existing piles. So the new steel pipe piles will involve a little under 5 additional square feet of disturbance to land under the ocean. There's no change in the reconfiguration zone being proposed. We did receive a comment letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries. They agreed with the proposal for a soft start procedure, but beyond that, they had no further recommendations. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Doug?
I don't think I have any questions at the moment here.
Any?
Did you say me?
It's just,
Yes.
yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I'm just like it's just floats and then piles in there.
It's
There's
replacing,
yeah.
except for the 5 new.
Okay. No, I think I get it. No, go ahead. I'll.
Okay. You can always have another bite at the apple.
Yeah.
Penny?
No, I'm all set.
What was that?
She's
All set, thank you.
I heard her. Jen?
Give me a hard time.
Yeah, I think I'm good with this. It looks like almost deceptively similar on the left and the right. It's not getting any bigger or anything. You're just maybe adding a couple new ones, right?
Right. The only change is the additional 6 piles.
Right, but it's not like
Right. It's not
bigger.
expanding.
It's
Right,
not
yeah.
expanding at all, no.
It felt like one of those games where you try and see the differences.
It's just those 6 red dots.
Yeah.
Andy?
I'm good on this right now.
Brendan?
I have no questions at this time.
Amy?
What about me?
Oh, Richard, I'm sorry.
Wow, demoted. Actually,
Hardly.
I'm fine. The only question I have, and I may be being naive about this, but is there any question of timing on this regarding fisheries, and when is this to be done anyway?
Well, I believe it's to be done as soon as possible. And there are no restrictions in terms of time of year restrictions. Those would have been raised by the Division of Marine Fisheries.
Okay, thank you.
Amy?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty straightforward. 2, no DEP comments, appears to meet the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act and Town of Scituate.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience? Amy, maybe the applicant can explain to me, how does this compare with the order of conditions we gave for this project when the Marine Center was built? I mean, you get lost in some of this stuff because it goes on for a while, but I don't remember there being 3 rows of floats and piles when we conditioned this originally.
Yeah, it definitely looks different than the accepted site plan. So maybe GEI can answer this.
No, it looks very similar to what received a waterways license. I don't believe, I was not involved at the time of the original order of conditions, I don't know if there's anyone from the town on this call that can answer that. It is within the zone of reconfiguration. Everything is within that zone, and I know it is the same square footage of floats that was approved, and that the purpose of the zone of reconfiguration is to allow modifications in the layout as needed. But beyond that, I'm not familiar with the earlier order of conditions.
Yeah, Frank, I think that originally it was approved under different harbor master, so I'm not sure Stephen Moan would know the answer to that. But if it's consistent with a 91 license, then it could be that a slightly modified plan was accepted after the original orders were finalized, which is what I suspect happened.
It just seems like there's a lot of creep, for lack of a better word, on this marina. I mean, I know it's the property's owned by the town, but there's a private operator there, and it just seems like the use of that's expanding. I don't necessarily say that we want to, I understand they want to get their piles and whatnot in there, but we've had discussion about this marina before. We're going into another season, and we've got some dunes along the Edward Foster Road that don't get protected. I guess it goes beyond what you're proposing tonight a little bit, but I think the commission has some real concerns with when that project was approved. There was supposed to be a number of things to protect the environment around that, and it seems like those are being certainly not being followed. And I'm not sure what the process is for that, but I know that if we had an applicant in here from a private marina that was in violation, we wouldn't be considering their application.
That's a valid point, Frank.
Frank, do you want to pull that stuff up and have them come back? Should we pull up the old stuff and compare?
Well, I guess I'm still lost as to who is responsible for this. I mean, the town has the piers and the floats.
Yeah.
Then there's an operator in the marina. Is it the harbor master that is the person that's responsible, or who has that responsibility?
He was supposed to be here, but I don't know. He's the one putting this forward, so. Maybe we need to get some answers.
I mean, I get time is of the essence for this, and they want to get this piece in, but that seems to be what happens. And Amy, any thoughts on that?
Well, if Steve Moan is on the call, he should probably raise his hand.
He's not.
I can text him to see if he's where he is. But I mean, as far as the work with respect to resource areas, I mean, I think this is an approvable project with orders, and it's really the control is tied to the Chapter 91 waterways license.
But we normally, like, how does that tie in, Amy, with the fact that if somebody has violations on their existing site and they come in front of us for a new project, we don't just necessarily give them the new project, even if it is approvable.
Right. Although this is a separate filing with a separate DEP number. And so I think that what Frank is bringing up is really tied to separate, it's a separate DEP number with an open order, the one that we were just out there on, Frank. But I agree. If there's any time to rein a project in, this would be the time, to demand compliance with what you feel is missing from the orders as negotiated back before my time. I'm not exactly even sure when. Frank, do you know when those orders came in about?
It's probably 15 years ago.
At least.
Well, that was well before GEI was involved.
Yeah. I think CEI might have been the applicant there. And I remember a former agent having to deal with some issues with salt marsh and a bunch of things. I think that there was some Army Corps issues with some of the dredging, and it got pretty involved. But we just they keep moving ahead, and we keep saying this is, we're going to work with them. But I don't see much coming back to the commission on the other side of this.
Frank?
Yes.
Well, so if we approve this, can we not separately question the previous conditions if they were not adhered to? Because some of them live for the life of the whole project and keep going. And if there's something to be done there, wouldn't that be a separate issue that we could go after?
Yeah, it's just that people tend to come into compliance when they want to get something else from the commission.
True. Very true.
Really good point, Frank.
I think the only issue that I have with it from GEI is trying to understand exactly is out of compliance. If the project was conducted 15 years ago and they went through various enforcement situations at that time, what would still be not in compliance at this point?
There were areas that were set aside that were supposed to be protected. They're not being protected. I think there's some additional buildings now on the site that weren't there before. There's storage of equipment, boats and things that are encroaching on all that. I kind of lump the thing together as a whole.
The entire maritime center, not just the
right, the boatyard, the docks, the whole piece. It operates as a unit.
Okay.
We have Steve Gard raising his hand. Maybe he can shed some light on this. I'm going to unmute him.
Okay.
Who's he?
Shedding light is a strong phrase, but I would by the way, Steve Gard, Attorney Steve Gard, 51 Garrison Drive. I'm also an associate member of the Waterways Committee. I think that it sounded to me like the things that you're having trouble with from the previous approvals years ago sound like they're on the land side. And with all due respect to obviously the concept of motivating an applicant to get things done that weren't previously done correctly at the time that they're looking for further relief. It seems to me like the proposal for the piling replacement is entirely within the Chapter 91 license area, and the responsibility for that, my understanding, is the Harbor Master's Office or the Waterways Committee as obviously an enterprise fund advisor or manager, where the land side is controlled by the lessee, which is Scituate Boat Works. It would seem to me that the commission could approve the proposal this evening for the replacement of the piles from wood to metal and still allow themselves an opportunity to consider an enforcement order on the land side or the offending components of the previous approval that were not complied with. But rather than hold this up, I would say that in a practical sense, and I don't know what Stephen's intention is here, but understanding Mr. Saunders' comment about getting this done as soon as possible. We have, pile driving machines in the harbor right now, and of course the convenience factor and sort of the cost savings to the town is immense if that whole circus has to demobilize from its current project and then mobilize to come back to this project. So my guess is they're trying to do this together with the Cole Parkway project to save the town and the taxpayers money.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Steve, I don't disagree with you on that, and it isn't necessarily intent to hold this up, but I would disagree with you that it's the town owns that piece of property. So the person that leases that from the town, although they may be doing the work there, the town of Scituate is the property owner, and the property owner is the person that's responsible for the orders. The town of Scituate got the orders for that maritime center and the boatyard and all that sort of thing. It was issued to the town of Scituate, and they have a tenant there. But this is sort of the back and forth that we always wind up doing, and then whatever they want to do gets done, and then nothing else gets corrected.
Yeah, point taken, Frank. You're absolutely right. I can't argue with that. But it would seem to me that, again, as I said,
so who can you? I mean, you're an associate member on the Waterways Commission. Who's responsible?
As far as the land side,
yes,
side compliance, I guess again that was 15 years ago or so. I've been on the commission, the Waterways Committee, for a while. I would say that it's the town. So there's a whole thing going on with the town between the DPW and the harbor master's office, and of course the tenant, on who's responsible for some of the things that was mowing the paths, the walking paths and things like that. So it's not exactly clear, Frank, as to who's really responsible. I think you're right. I think it's the town of Scituate, and the town is ultimately responsible for compliance with the order of conditions that they receive to construct those buildings and prevent the creeping that you talked about, and protecting the barrier beach and the resource area. So
right.
I think it falls on the town. Who the town designates to manage that or to comply could be the harbor master's office, could be DPW. And most likely, I don't know. I would say most likely it's DPW. The harbor master's office doesn't really have, we all know they don't have the skill set to manage, wetland or invasive wetland species and vegetation and things like that. It would seem to me like if those were the issues, the DPW should step in and be guided by the commission as to what needs to be done to bring the site into compliance.
So what I'm seeing, we were out there the other day with a couple of folks from Waterways because they were talking about a kayak stand or whatever, which I think is a great idea. But I haven't really spent much time out there, so I had a chance to roam around a little bit, and I'm like, these boats are backed in over these dunes that we're supposed to have been built. This was a sensitive area, and as well as I do, when we do that, we get mitigation for working in those spots, and now the mitigation is being trampled.
So you've got two layers there. So I think the commission would be complaining to the town, the property owner who has achieved the order of conditions, and it would be up to the town to complain to the tenant that they're storing boats in areas that they're not supposed to be storing, or they're creeping away into the marsh area, or that upland. Well, it's not really upland, but the area to the north. You know what I mean? I think that's where you're talking about. It's like a two-layer thing, Frank, I think.
Well, that, and we also conditioned a boatyard building, but now there's multiple containers, there's stacks of other stuff, there's sheds, there's a bunch of things. Again, if this was on a piece of private property, the commission would have a cease and desist or whatever, and it's not being attended.
And forgive me for my ignorance, but you can't treat it like that. Not that I'm suggesting you should, but you can't treat it like that, or because it's a municipality that owns the property, or is it just an uncomfortable situation?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I made my point, but
Frank, what if we made a motion to continue this, given that it doesn't feel like we have enough of the right answers to make a decision on this? on, who's responsible.
Well, I think the point's been made that there's right now, if you're down the harbor, there's a bunch of equipment there, and they're driving piles, and you get those opportunities when there's a crane and a barge and all that sort of stuff in there to do this. And
Totally. But I think the point is super valid that the site is complicated, and why should it be treated any different just because it's a municipality? So if we just continue it to the next meeting.
Do we know what kind of timing's required?
Mr. Saunders?
No, I do not.
Steve, do you?
He's muted.
I think that Jen Foley made a good point, Frank.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry, Frank. I think I was muted at the time. I didn't hear your question.
Do you know what the timing is? How much longer? How far how long they are on the project on the other side? How much longer they're going to be in the harbor? Any idea?
I don't, but I know that, they're opening the marina May 15th. So they're probably going to be there. I would imagine they'll be out of there right around the beginning of May, first week or two in May. And I don't think they'd be able to do this project after, the marina opens on the other side. And I think the town opening date is always May 15th. So, for the
They're not likely to have their orders by then.
Yeah.
I guess I'm willing to close it. Can we hang on the orders, Amy, until that? I mean, if we close this thing, I don't know.
Why would you want to hang on the orders?
Frank?
Yep.
I guess I go back. In this case, I'm not sure I totally agree with Jen. I think it's a great suggestion, but to me, this is two separate issues. One for a fairly simple project that probably does need to be done. If it's going to be done this year, probably does need to be done within the next month. But I don't think that your overall perception of this needs to be ignored. I think we need to take some action separate from possibly approving this.
I just think we all know nobody pays attention unless they actually want something.
I get that, Jen. I really do get that.
Yeah. If somebody had been here at this meeting to say, we want to do this now, we're sorry we're late, we have 3 weeks to get this done, but it doesn't even seem like the project has the right people attending this meeting to support it.
I agree. I think the harbor master should have been here.
Okay, let's move this.
All right. Well, I'll take a motion.
Do you want me to? I'll make a motion to close, but we're not done with them down there.
I have a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Doug. Oh, all in favor. Richard?
I'll abstain.
Okay, Doug, Penny. Jen?
What is closing?
That doesn't mean we're just closing.
Yeah, so we're not voting to issue orders. We're just closing.
Okay, cool.
So no additional information into this public record.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. I do want to get at this, though. It's annoying when we've gone through, I can remember conditioning this project and how much we went through to do it. And when we were out there the other day, to see so much stuff discarded is discouraging, so.
Well, we tried last year, Frank, and nobody wanted to listen to you or me. So we'll try again this year.
This is the opportunity.
This has been an ongoing problem of the whole park down there.
Okay.
Moving on.
So
we've closed.
Yep. 250 Driftway. On April 5th, 2021, the Town Hall Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Mass General Laws, Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, and Section 32050 of the Scituate Stormwater Bylaw regarding the application of the Town of Scituate to repave the parking lot and associated landscaping at location 250 Driftway, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access to the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posts on the town website. So who do we have? That's Cavanaro.
Yes, Brendan Sullivan here from.
Hey, Brendan.
Oh, I thought they were going to continue. Huh.
Go ahead, Brendan.
We do have the updated plan up. Okay. So I'm sorry, Brendan Sullivan with Cavanagh Consulting, representing the town of Scituate, the Wooders Walk Golf Course. We were in here with you guys the end of last year for the improvements to the clubhouse, and said we were coming back when we redid the parking lot. Well, now we're coming back to redo the parking lot. So the parking lot is basically, it's a combination of pavement, old pavement, some hard pack gravel. In conjunction with redoing the clubhouse, we're going to grind and repave the parking lot. Really not changing the grades that much, other than the grinding of the existing pavement and the new pavement going on top of that. What we did include on the original plan was I had an island in the middle and a series of infiltration basins down adjacent to the road. But upon further survey, we found out that the road there's a 60-foot wide roadway layout for the Driftway. So the edge of the roadway layout is about the edge of the existing parking lot. So I met with DPW. They didn't like the idea of having the stormwater controls within the layout, so I had to move everything outside of the layout. So I basically had to hold the row of parking closest to the top of the page, closest to the north, because that north, like right about where the north arrow is, that's the ninth green, where people are, hitting their balls towards the parking lot. In that area, so we don't want to get we can't move the parking lot too much closer in that direction. So if you follow me, we eliminated the infiltration, the island in the middle of the parking lot, and bumped everything from the roadside north about 10 or 15 feet. So now there's one long infiltration basin that will pick up the runoff from the pavement and discharge it into an outlet structure, and then eventually go into there's a manhole down in the lower right hand corner of the page that discharges to a 24-inch pipe that goes across the street into the Herring River. I'm sorry, to back up a little bit, the resource areas here are, we have a BVW associated with a pond up next to the ninth green. We have a riverfront, 200-foot riverfront, which clips onto the property from the Herring River across the street. And we're also in land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is elevation 16, which pretty much encompasses almost the entire parking lot, except for the northwest corner where the handicap spaces are being proposed. So the runoff will, as I said, shed off of the new parking lot, go through. I have a 1 foot by 1 foot stone trench, small grass area, and then it will go into the infiltration basin. In the flows that I have from pre and post, they're reduced dramatically because I have the outlet of the pond is off the bottom of the pond by about 1.5 feet. So there's an extremely lot of infiltration going on in stormwater, and the peak flows are reduced by less than a half of what they are today. The overall project, including the clubhouse, we're reducing the impervious on site by about 1,700 square feet. And with this new design, we were originally reducing the pavement by about 3,700 square feet. But with this new design, we're actually reducing more pavement. So we're reducing almost about another 1,000 square feet. So we're reducing the pavement by about 4,700 square feet. So I think that's about it.
Okay. Doug?
No, pretty much just, no, I get it. Pretty straightforward, grind in place and repave. So it's reclaiming the existing pavement serves as somewhat of a base. So, no, I don't have any questions. That's pretty straightforward.
Penny?
Nope, I'm all set with it.
Okay. Richard?
No, I'm good. You didn't mention anything about the landscaping, but I think it's pretty obvious, and that'll be nice.
Jen?
Yeah, I appreciate all the detail that was shared. Thank you.
Andy?
I'm good on this.
And Brendan?
I have no questions.
Amy, you want to?
Yeah, so, I mean, clearly this will be a big improvement over what's there. It is in, I'm not sure if Brennan said this or not because I stepped away for a second, but so there is a peer review on the stormwater management standards, which will need to be now reconsidered with this new design. So I think that no DEP comments, but it looks like other than public comment, we are looking to continue this out to probably May 17th.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this? Okay, so we want a motion to continue this to when?
Why do we need the motion to continue? I'm confused.
Because we don't have we just received a revised plan and it hasn't been reviewed by our peer review. So we don't have all the documents in.
So we did. So Penny, just so you know, I did get it. We got it. This was peer reviewed by Merrill Associates, and basically he was a couple things he asked for. One of them was test pits. We have done test pits out there, and we've done a number of them. I just didn't submit them with the original application, and you know he. You know, as Amy says, he hasn't seen this new design, and he had a couple of comments and you know, basically dotting the I's and crossing the T's to touch up the plans.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue, to the next meeting?
May 17th.
May 17th.
So I got a second from Andy. All in favor? Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. 13 Circuit Ave. On April 5th, 2021, it's 5:30, Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, and Section 32050 of the Town of Scituate Stormwater Bylaw regarding the application of Derek Delmonico to raise and rebuild a single-family dwelling with attached garage, asphalt driveway, lawn area, at location 13 Circuit Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. And we have
Scott Panera here.
Good evening. This is Scott Finara with Grady Consulting.
Scott.
Here on behalf of Derek Delmonico for notice of intent for raise and rebuild. On the left side of the screen there, that's the existing conditions of the property. There's an existing house, single-family house and driveway. The property does abut Scituate Harbor, which does have a coastal bank. Part of this work here will be within 100 feet of that resource area. So again, it's just a raise and rebuild. We have submitted an administrative stormwater review for low impact projects, which has been peer reviewed by Merrill. We have addressed their comments. So there's a stormwater system to the rear of the house, which is going to be just below that patio on the right side of the screen. We're proposing erosion control in the form of a silt sock around both the left and right side of the property, as well as the rear, where the work will stop. Are there any questions?
100.
Who wants to lead off? Jen?
100.
Oh, yikes. I'm still looking at it, but there's my first thought is there's a pretty big uptick in impervious. Can you say what the actual percentage is?
Yep, I believe there's a table on the right-hand side above the revision block.
Yeah.
But essentially, the entire increase in impervious coverage will be managed by this new stormwater system. So
I think she asked that question. What's the number?
Oh, it's way up there.
Right. I just want to know it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
total existing is 2,442. Proposed 5,829.
Yeah.
It's about 3,400 square feet.
So quick math is it's more than double.
That's correct.
And so what's the mitigation for that?
All the impervious coverage, all the rainfall over the impervious coverage will be managed by this new stormwater system in the rear of the property.
Are they proposing any plantings or other mitigation to support doubling the impervious space?
There are some plantings in the rear of that stone patio. I don't have information on the what species of plants are going back there.
Those are probably pretty plantings as opposed to things that make a conservation commission happy. I would definitely be interested in greater understanding the mitigation for doubling the impervious, more than doubling the impervious.
The entire site south of that wall there is previously disturbed. It's all existing lawn, so there'll be no cutting into any type of resource or resource areas.
Sure, but it's still doubling the impervious in a sensitive area, right? It's all a lot of that's close to it's getting into the 100-foot buffer, whereas before it wasn't, I don't believe.
No.
But a lot of this, if you look, there's that 100-foot wetland buffer. So most of this work is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So there is a small area inside that buffer zone, which consists of that patio, the stairs, some plantings, etc.
Right. So, I think the facts are pretty clear on. I'm sorry, that sounded sassy. I didn't mean it like that. I think the drawing is super clear about where things are. I would like to see mitigation plantings as opposed to beautiful things to help me feel better about encroaching into the buffer zone and doubling the impervious.
Okay. It looks like Derek and Tracy have their hand raised. They might be able to input.
Well, why don't we go through members first, and then we'll have public input and the owners. let's just work through that one. Okay, that way we can kind of hear from all the members.
Okay.
All right. Andy?
I think Jen's point's well taken. But otherwise, it looks like they pretty thoroughly responded to the concerns I saw in the peer review. So I'm good otherwise.
Okay, Brendan?
Yeah, I'm also concerned about that's a large increase, but Jen kind of really did that. Not overdid it, but like she covered it completely. I meant covered it completely. She just.
I took the bullet by going first.
Okay, Penny?
I have a question here. That in the back there, it says stone patio, but what's that staircase? I mean, is this a raised deck or
Yeah.
a stone patio out back?
Yes, it's a raised stone patio, and
Stone patio.
Yep. So there's steps down from the first floor elevation onto that stone patio, and then beneath that is the proposed infiltration system.
What's keeping the stone patio in the air?
There's a retaining wall on the left side and the right side. And there's a planting bed, which will also serve as a retaining wall, which I believe is noted on the plan to the left.
Okay. And then, all right, that just definitely confused me. All right, moving on.
Doug?
Well, I suppose since Merrill is the peer review on this, I have to recuse myself.
Recuse yourself then.
Yeah, I think I have to.
All right. Well, then you better the last one, the golf course. I think that Merrill's doing that one too, Doug. So
yeah, I caught that at the very end when Brendan said that. I heard the word Merrill thrown in there. I'm not involved in those peer reviews whatsoever, but I think that becomes appearance of.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should.
Sorry.
Maybe we can think about that or look into that, Doug. If that's
I might be able to write something up on that. But I think for tonight, I should probably stay out of that.
Okay. Richard?
I totally agree with Jen's concern. We need a lot more information. There's a lot more area that is being covered without sufficient information. For that matter, the house is bigger, isn't it? Covering more area. And I presume there's a drainage plan that's going to take care of that. But we need more. Jen's right.
Amy, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, this project has been pretty well vetted. So there was an administrative stormwater management review performed by Merrill, and they also took a look at the coastal resource areas. This plan actually is a little bit tough to follow. There's a lot going on, so I understand how it could be. Definitely seem like a lot, and there's without a doubt there's pre-existing lawn in this 50-foot wetland buffer, which is not ideal. But for the most part, I mean, this was it's a raise rebuild where there's granted a very substantial increase in the amount of impervious on the site. But by and large, the project is outside of the flood zone and coastal resource areas. You've just got some encroachment into your 100-foot with this patio. So I can tell you that the stormwater peer review is all set. That did go back and forth a number of times, and it would be nice to, maybe get some additional mitigation. Take back of the 50-foot wetland buffer could be good with natural plantings. I don't know. This is a tough area. It's exposed right there on the point. So definitely need to be some salt tolerant hardy stuff, but that's what I have to say. I can see that Tracy is on the line. I think that's Derek and Tracy, the owners.
Yeah, this would be a good time.
All right, so we'll unmute them.
Sure.
Hello, can you hear us?
We got you.
Okay. So when Tracy and I wanted to move forward.
So Derek, just for the record, just your names and.
So this is Derek and Tracy. We are the homeowners at 13 Circuit Ave. And when we decided to go forward with this, we did want to keep the house out of the wetland buffer and the whole coastal area as much as we could, and the FEMA flood zone. We didn't want to. That's why, if you notice, the house is not in those zones. I know the patio is. It was too hard for us not to keep the patio out of it. The actual finished floor of the house is about 1 foot higher than the existing floor of the existing house. So I know that it's kind of confusing, but you step out down, those stairs are all going down. So you're stepping down onto the patios. And that's where, I know originally one of you was wondering how the stone patio was there. But, as for, the back, we just kind of wanted everything grass because that's what's there. And that seems to be the best thing at least from what we've noticed. We've only had the luxury of being there for a little over a year. So we're still also learning about the area. And as for the plantings, we're not really in love with anything in particular or unparticular, pretty or not. So I guess we would take your advice as to what you think we can put in there.
Okay. Does any of the members want to ask the applicant any specific questions? Okay. Richard?
I just think we need a planting plan and have somebody maybe make a little plan for out back there where there can be some salt tolerant stuff put in there as mitigation.
Would that have to be in the bermed plant area, or are you thinking like somewhere else? I guess I'm just looking for a little direction. That's all.
Yeah, and frankly, I would too. I guess that's why I would say a planting plan. You'd probably need to get a professional that would look at the lot and make some suggestions that would work. This is a pretty typical thing we would ask for as a form of mitigation in an area like this.
So sometimes, or often, Derek, when a project or an area is being developed and the development's fairly large, or anything that's inside the buffer, is that the commission looks maybe for some additional plants that might be more natural, give some habitat either to birds, sort of thing. Maybe this maybe more down by the seawall or something like that, as a mitigation for the area that's in the buffer zone. That's kind of typical in a lot of sites. So there's actually a lot of different plants that can be done that are attractive. Doesn't have to be made wild, but just plantings in general that could be environmentally positive is something that the commission's asked for in the past.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions with regard to the drainage? Because we're also doing a stormwater on this. And Amy, you're saying that that's been all reviewed already by Merrill.
All set. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we could probably, it could go either way. We could either continue it until you see a mitigation plan that you're comfortable with, or you could close with condition just close it and then with pending, have a special condition pending the planting plan, basically.
I mean, I obviously I would, as the homeowner, it would be better. I don't have a problem. Well, Tracy and I don't have a problem, planting any plants. We would have to go by your recommendations or somebody else's, because like we said, we've only been there for a short period of time. So, we wouldn't know.
Oftentimes, Derek, like a consultant, someone that in a lot of these sites, there's other issues. So you wind up with like an environmental person. I don't know who Grady works with, but they oftentimes come up with a recommendation for some plantings that could be beneficial, whether it's a couple of clusters or a row or something like that. It's usually not so much the commission saying do this or that, other than we have oftentimes gone ahead and closed the hearing and made part of the orders that there needs to be an acceptable planting plan for that sort of thing. So you can do a couple of options is that, you understand that the commission's going to be looking for that. We close the hearing, and then, you submit some planting plans, and the commission has the ability to either reject it or approve it, or you continue the hearing and you come up with a planting plan that the commission can approve at a future hearing.
Well, we would rather, if we could, have you obviously give us the, say that, put it in there that we could make those clusters part of the conditions, like you said. I mean, that obviously would be best for Tracy and I, but
right,
we don't have that luxury.
Well, I think that's something that oftentimes people agree to, that we can come up with a mutually acceptable plan for that type of thing. So it may be in your interest to want to do that. I can't tell you for certain, but as opposed to waiting.
Well, yeah, we would be okay with that.
So it sounds acceptable to other members?
Good with me.
So I'll make a motion to close, and a planting plan by the applicant will be submitted as mitigation.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
That's Richard. Doug, you're abstaining. Jen?
Yep.
Andy?
Recused.
Yes. Recused. Andy's yes. Brendan?
Yes.
And then Frank, yes. Okay. Great. On to...
Thank you.
Thank you. On to 38 Revere Street. So on April 5th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands.
Hold on.
10 Driftway. 10
New Driftway.
Right.
It's probably out of order.
Sorry.
And this is out of order on the slideshow, but on the agenda, we're doing 10 New Driftway first. So, and we are looking for Morse.
Is this a new one?
No, it's continued from the 1st of March.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't have anything to read. Sorry. 10 New Driftway. Of Ross Engineering.
I thought they were going to...
It's Ross. I was thinking it was Greg Morse. It's Ross. You're right. Sorry. I don't know why I was so confused. Too much going on.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is Greg Tansley. Can you hear me?
I can, Greg. Go ahead and
turn it.
Yep. Greg, if you want to start your presentation.
Sure. What we have here, as you can see, there's an existing retaining wall that runs right along this line right here. And that retaining wall is in great disrepair. It's an old Versalock retaining wall. It's been hit by traffic and cars parking a number of times. And what we're looking to do is to remove this old retaining wall that's really in bad shape. It's falling apart. And we're proposing to expand the parking area right along here. We will add all these parking spaces right along here. And we are proposing a new structural cast-in-place retaining wall right along here that won't fall apart if it gets hit by a plow or by somebody parking their car there. It will be a steel reinforced structural concrete retaining wall. And as a result, we are adding more pavement right in this area. What we're proposing to do to provide treatment is there's an existing catch basin right here. We're going to keep that. It'll run into a First Defense. It's a stormwater treatment unit. And then we've got a galley system that will provide infiltration and also treatment. And then an overflow pipe right out here to a stabilized outfall with a head wall. We are also proposing a upgraded access way to the existing detention basin so that those basins can be maintained. There's a basin and a significant forebay right up here to
there you are.
East. And that will allow for maintenance to occur on that basin. And yeah, right in here, this forebay and the outlet. Right now, this basin really is not very accessible. You can get to it and do manual labor, but if you ever had to have a small excavator pull out some roots or restore any of these riprap spillways, the access is very, very difficult and limited. This will facilitate that, and it will also promote the maintenance of the basin. So this was a comment that Mr. Chesia had asked us to provide, and so we're providing this access way. It's an improved access way. He also asked us to make some minor dimensional edits on the riprap apron. We have done a pretty significant drainage analysis and the impacts of the expanded pavement. We are also going to provide an expanded traffic island. It's going to be grassed island, and this will help beautify the parking lot as well as manage the on-site traffic and provide for additional paving. So we are also, as a part of this notice of intent, we looked at the entire on-site infrastructure, the drainage system, and we found that some minor improvements can be made, primarily with hoods over the outlet pipes to the catch basins. The catch basins do not have hoods. They were supposed to have been installed when the facility was built, but they never were. So we are going to upgrade each of the catch basins, the existing catch basins that are out here on the site. We're going to take a look at this detention basin. We're going to make any necessary improvements to it. And then off to the west, there's another detention basin on the other side. If you could pan down, thank you. This basin here, this basin is filled in a bit over time with sediments. There's a fair amount of Phragmites in it, and we are proposing to remove the accumulated sediments, and we are going to remove the Phragmites, and we're going to restore this basin to its original capacity, to its original grades. We're going to loam and seed it, and if there's any need for an outfall to be cleaned, we're going to clean it. We're going to probably flush the line, make sure that it's nice and clean, that there aren't any deposits of accumulations in this pipe here at the outfall. And then just maintain it after the lawn has been established. And we've got our erosion control, and a lot of this line here will be abandoned in place. We're going to cut and cap it. So the tributary area to this basin here is going to diminish, and that's going to improve the overall efficiency of the system and the maintenance of it. And the balance of the tributary area is going through the new infrastructure where it will be treated and even mitigated. And it doesn't have to be mitigated because it's discharging to a tidal waterway, and surface runoff will not adversely impact tidal waterways. It won't raise the sea level because unlike a confined inland water body, the ocean is an unconfined water body, and it will not have a rise or an adverse impact to it, will not cause a flooding condition, and that standard too is typically waived. It has historically been waived, and it's allowed to be waived per the Mass DEP stormwater management system standards. With that, if any member of the commission has any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them.
Frank, you're muted.
Got it. Thank you. Richard, could you start with this? You've been on for a while and you've seen some of this come before us. I know there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there is, and I couldn't quite catch it all as he was going. The diagrams didn't match up with some of the things. I think I've got some of it, and I remember that we dealt with this a few years ago, not that long ago, I guess, regarding the parking area. Certainly don't have a problem with the wall, although I'm not the best at engineering it. And I think I understood a lot about the drainage, but honestly, I'm just not the best with that. Overall, to me, it seems like an improvement. I guess the one question I caught was the mention of an island, and I'm not sure how that would tie in with expanding the parking. And the other thing that I didn't hear mentioned, and I just might have missed it, is on our agenda, it says additional parking, and I didn't hear anything actually said about that part.
If I may.
Yeah, Greg, why don't you go ahead and answer that?
Sure. The islands that I was referring to are greenscape traffic islands. This is one island here. There's an existing island out there now, which has the perimeter of rough and shape like this, but we are expanding it to include additional parking right along here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I apologize.
Yeah, we have right now, there's parking along here. We've got a row of parking that exists, and that's really all that we have, except for in front of the existing concrete, Versalock retaining wall. There's an alley of parking spaces currently that runs right like this. That row of parking will be eliminated, and it'll be relocated down here, which will allow for traffic circulation. And then we've got an additional set of parking stalls right here. And the parking island will be expanded or to accommodate this additional row of parking. And this island will also be expanded right along like that. And that just is a safety, traffic circulation. It's a standard protocol in parking lot design. So traffic can flow this way, and two-way traffic can proceed safely in and around this area for people to access these two rows of new additional parking. And so that there is the traffic islands, and these are the two rows of new parking.
Okay. Does that help at all, Richard?
Yeah, a little bit. Thanks.
Okay. Doug? So we'll go to the engineer.
That's too kind. One thing I'm thinking that Greg is probably generously moving his cursor around the page.
We can't
pointing out these things that we can't actually see your cursor.
Oh, yes.
So that's the disconnect of what's happening.
Okay.
For some reason on Zoom, you in your presentations, you can't see on a PDF file the cursor. So that's what made it a little bit difficult to follow. So one of the things you mentioned filling in a coastal flood zone. Where is that? I don't actually see.
There's no filling in a coastal flood zone. This subsurface recharge system, it's a galley system. It overflows to an outlet that flows.
I got you. Okay, so you're adding additional water into an existing flood zone. That's what you were referring to. Okay.
Yes.
This is a tough site. It's tight everywhere. It's squeezed in. We've got an A zone on the other side for the aquifer. You mentioned that John Chessia's name. Has he reviewed this, and do we have documentation on that yet?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
And does he have outstanding comments still at this point? Is this?
He did, although late last week we got the submitted revision, so we don't have his final comments in, but let's say we were in the home stretch.
Okay, I think obviously what we're trying to do is protect these sensitive areas that we have around here. I know that they've been trying to find a way to get more parking, and it's incredibly crowded. Greg, will this increase the capacity? I see how you're moving the spaces back. Do you get another whole, I'm looking in the middle of the site there, the plan. Is that a whole brand new row of parking then that you're able to add to this? Looks like another 15 spaces or so.
Yes, we actually add 2 rows of parking.
This is all new.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 rows.
2 rows, yes. If you see on the plan, there's a 1 with a circle in one of the stalls, and that goes up to 15 with a circle in one of the stalls up by the new island. That's a row of 50. I'm sorry?
And now I can see what you're doing.
Yeah. So that's one new row that we are proposing for new parking. And then if you look to the south, there is a 16 in the one of the parking stalls in the corner, the lower corner, if you will, as the yes, right there. And then we go all the way up to 35.
35.
Yeah.
But there is existing parking along that edge already, so it's
No.
people park along that back edge.
Well, the existing parking is a row that runs. If you can see where the proposed galley system is, that's where the existing row of parking.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out the net gain in parking, because you eliminate that row where people park now and push them back farther, which gives you an additional ability to get another row in there. But is it? It seems like the net gain would be something other than under the 50.
Right.
So,
it would. The net gain will be about about 15 more parking spaces.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. So is that going to satisfy I'm just hoping that when you're able to go at that you can satisfy the use, at times you can go there and there's absolutely no parking in the whole space. So there's a lot of doctors' offices and things like that, and dentists and physical therapists, and it tends to get pretty heavily used. I'm just hoping that you don't have to come back again and try to find another way to squeeze out some more parking. But
well, this is what the owner.
This is what she got. Okay.
Yeah, this is what we decided would alleviate the issue that currently exists. 15 spaces is a lot of spaces, and not everybody is parked there all day long. I mean, a lot of these parking spots are occupied for an hour or less. Some of them part of the day. Some of them are there most of the day. But this additional row of the proposed parking, according to the owner, will go a long way in alleviating the problems that are currently there.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. I think that's.
All right. Thanks, Penny.
I'm really confused. I'm back at where we started 2 years ago. Am I the only one seeing, or am I mistaken? But this row of parking is either in the 100 or the 50-foot buffer zone. There's so many lines on this here, but there's a 100-foot VVW, there's a 50-foot IVW, and the parking is in there. That was the problem that I thought we had before, is they are going in the buffer zone to create this parking. I'm
No. I don't think that was the problem before.
Well, it was part of it. I mean, I don't.
The reason why it halted last time was because the approach that they were using to create the additional spaces was by adding pervious pavers, and it's in a zone of contribution to your drinking water supply, so it was just not allowed to use that method.
Okay, well, I don't understand why I would allow this. It's in 50-foot buffer zones here, there. I mean, there's so many lines on here.
If I may,
It's got to be pretty wet over there.
Greg?
Yes.
Go ahead.
If I may respond to that.
Yes, please.
Do.
There's multiple buffers going on here. One is to the bordering vegetated wetland that's out there, and the proposed parking is, some of that is outside of the 100-foot buffer, and much of that proposed parking is partially within the 100-foot buffer to the BVW, and then the remainder of the parking is in the 100-foot buffer to the BVW, but that portion of the parking is currently in the 100-foot buffer. So, and there's nothing that we can do about that. There is an IVW, an isolated vegetative wetland, that has that exists out there, which does not, have the same value of the BVW, and that is closer to the to the parking. But even at that, the 100-foot buffer to the IVW, it's all in existing paving anyway. So, and then in the 50-foot, much of our parking is outside of the 50-foot in the IVW. There is a portion that is in the 50-foot to the IVW, but there's nothing that we can do about that. That area anyway had been disturbed through the construction of the original parking lot anyway. And with this work, it's important to note that there will be a net improvement in water quality once this project is completed, because the existing drainage system will be upgraded and it will be maintained, both catch basins and detention basins that exist on there. And you're adding a stormwater treatment unit, a first defense. It's a very efficient unit that treats stormwater. So there's a lot of positive results from this project once it gets completed. And again, the work that's being done out there, the proposed expansion, that's not in an undisturbed, pristine area of the site. That site had been disturbed as a result of the construction that took place 20 years ago.
Penny, you satisfied for right this minute? Can we move on and we'll come back?
Move on. No, I'm not satisfied, but move on, Frank.
Jen?
I don't have anything new to add.
Okay. Andy?
So will there be additional disturbance with this project?
Greg?
Well, no, everything that I can see out there has been disturbed, and the amount of disturbance is going to be limited to the area of where the new retaining wall currently is located. Right now, in order to access that detention basin to the east, equipment has to traverse over the land where the proposed row of expanded parking spaces currently exist now. And it is a difficult, it's a difficult terrain to pass. And in fact, there's a riprap revetment or boulder retaining wall, if you will, or stabilized slope is actually what it is, that exists right in the area adjacent to where the proposed galley system is. And that would force a small excavator to go actually closer to the wetland. Now, in the proposed condition, any heavy equipment that's going to access that detention basin is going to access it via an access road that's, as you look at the plan, is off to the left of the head wall. So there's not going to be the typical traversing of heavy equipment alongside of where the retaining wall now exists, because that's activity that's very close to the wetland, and it has been disturbed, and it's going to continue to be disturbed until a project like this is approved.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess I have the concern that if, a justification for expanding this one is that it was disturbed last time, I don't want to see further disturbance to that, to justify the next one. Because it feels like, if I'm understanding the history of this, it's not that old of a building, right? And these conditions existed all along. So I'm just, I guess, saying to fellow commissioners, I have some concern that one expansion will lead to another, because it was known to be a tight site. And then Amy said that we haven't seen the second or the final peer review comments, which I think there was a lot going back and forth. So it would be good to see that, but I guess that's what I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Amy, do you want to add to this?
Yeah.
Don't
So
forget Brendan.
Oh, Brendan, I'm sorry.
I was okay with that. I have nothing new to add to this conversation.
All right, let's keep rolling.
Okay, yeah, so right, we got to keep this rolling. So anyways, this, I guess that I have to start by saying that this is probably one of those sites that Zoom does not do justice to. So, I mean, there's clearly a lot going on here. It's a complicated site. I mean, if you're familiar with the site itself, I mean, yeah, I mean, you drive in and you can see basically at least three sides. There's action going on with existing basins, and then you've got resource areas, but when you boil it down, and also it's not helpful that we've got 4 new commissioners on from when this originally came to us. So this comes to us as a continued project. Originally, when it was brought to us, it was this, the same project as far as expansion and gaining of spaces, but the method was different. So it was, they were taking a pervious pavement approach, and after having, looked at the resource areas, confirmed the resource areas, and then put it out to stormwater peer review to Chesia Consulting. And I was also had DEP weigh in on that, that wasn't really the preferred installation. It's not really, wasn't going to meet standards for the sensitive resource area. So the project did sit, and it comes to us, now with a revised design. It's straight pervious pavement, not pervious, straight pavement with a poured wall. Resource areas are the same, like Greg said. You've for the parking to be in this location, they performed an evaluation of, looking at the alternatives to expand on other sides of the property, but this was determined to be the best location. They did consult with the planning board a couple years ago about this, and it was decided that Concom could have the review. Stormwater management standards under DEP was triggered, which is why we have our peer review, Chesia, reviewing this. It's a disturbed site. This is going to be an improvement. I mean, I guess like I say, we're in the home stretch, meaning that we just received revised plans to Chesia's second round of comments, and I think we're just about there. In fact, I think we could, I guess it depends on what you want to do, but we could potentially even close this tonight with conditions. All in all, I think that, you're taking a site that has not been necessarily maintained to standards that we want to see, and you're getting a new review, a thorough evaluation of what's there. They're addressing maintenance issues. You're getting a new long-term pollution prevention plan, O&M plan, which will be incorporated as part of the orders with maintenance required. I think it's a good improvement, all in all, and it will address the needs of the owner and the needs of the site. It's confusing, though. I mean, I agree. It's like looking at this and not knowing the history. I can see how you could be scratching your head. So I know we do submit, the full file. So if you want to have a site visit before you close, or if you want to anything else, I mean, I suppose we could definitely do that for sure. But otherwise, I'm ready to basically close.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
Frank, can I add one thing?
Sure.
It's Richard. And it really isn't under our purview, but there is also, and I recall this from a couple of years ago, there's also a safety issue here. Right now, people have to go across the street to use the parking lot that's across the street from the unoccupied building. And I remember that's one of the things they were trying to reduce. And I have personally seen that be an issue. So I know it's not really within our purview, but I think it should be in our consideration.
Right. And that was brought up before. Thanks, Richard.
Yep.
Do we have anybody in the audience? Okay. So, there's already been enough said about this. I think when they developed this building, they built a substantial building with a lot of space available, and they built the required parking at the time that they did that, either through changes in use within the building, or whatever. It's clear that there's not enough parking for this building. But by the same token, they've already shoehorned a lot in here. And Andy made a good point that, to say that, well, kind of already having a disturbed area from previous work isn't a great reason to allow someone to do that again. I do know I walked around that site, looked over the bank, and there was some other alterations that maybe go back as far as when Route 3A was built. I know I was familiar with this site before this building was built, and I've walked around there a number of times. So there's some other altered areas outside this, but I think the point that's been made is that when the applicant first came in to expand the parking, they were going to try to do it with just some pervious pavers, and that commission didn't feel was appropriate, and they've gone through a fairly extensive plan to come up with cleaning the water before it's discharged from this. But I also think that they're going to have to look in the future when they either lease space or sell condos or whatever. They're going to have to come to some realization that they only have so much land there, and we can't keep saying, well, geez, now you have more cars, so we're going to have to allow you further into a sensitive area. All this stuff, the commission that looked at this when the building was built was concerned. So to just keep pushing this out, isn't something that we can keep doing. But I do think that they've worked hard to come up with something that's viable, and I don't see a reason to keep working at this myself. Anybody else? So I can make a motion to close, or if, I think I asked. I don't think we bored them to death already.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close.
Take a second, it. Richard. So we get Richard.
Pending conditions.
Pending conditions.
Of course.
So Doug.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Frank, yes. Greg, thanks for all your information this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have a nice evening.
You too. 38 Revere Street. On April 5th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, the Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of John Ison for building and accessory dwelling on timber piles located at 38 Revere Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information, the access to the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Good evening. This is Morse Engineering.
Yep, this is Greg. Sorry, Greg, I thought you were on the other one, but I was confused.
Not a problem. For the record, this is Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, John Ison, on the notice of intent located at 38 Revere Street. The notice of intent is associated with the construction of a detached garage at this property. The existing property, which is shown on assessor's parcel, is 72-4-2, is approximately 7,500 square feet in size. It's represented by the thick black line. That's the rectangular shape on the plan here. At the top of the page is Revere Street. At the bottom of the page is Postscript Lane. At the Revere Street end of the property is the existing home, number 38. The site itself is located not only on a barrier beach, being in Humrock, it's also located in land subject to coastal storm flowage, FEMA zone AE 13. For reference, at the Postscript Lane end of the site, the topography is at elevation 15. At the Revere Street, at the top of the page, the elevation is approximately elevation 11. The proposal is to construct the detached garage. It's 26 feet wide by 32 feet deep. That's the bold rectangular structure that you see at the bottom third of the page there. That would be an elevated structure on timber pilings. We submitted a piling layout prepared by Rivermore Structural Engineers. We've proposed a first floor elevation at elevation 15.5, which is above the FEMA floodplain, again at elevation 13. The DEP had no technical comments and has issued a DEP file number. This project did go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and received unanimous approval with them. I turn it over to you for question or comment.
Thank you, Greg. Richard, you want to?
Yeah, just a couple things. Greg, this is a single level structure. It's not with a second floor for any kind of residence or anything like that.
So it is a 2-story structure,
Okay.
but it is not a residence on the second level, no.
And also, I think I understand this. Where's the access to the garage? I presume there's going to be vehicles put in it. Is it coming from Postscript or coming from the other side?
It comes from Postscript, correct.
This easement.
No, I understand that, Penny. I'm just wondering, is there any additional driveway, or is it just crushed stone, shells, pavement, anything? I don't see anything on there. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, this area is just kind of a gravel surface, and that's what we put down for the driveway. Just gravel surface in keeping with the land that the structure is being built on.
Okay, and am I also understanding correctly, this will be the last thing, that the sloped entrance to the garage is approximately 1.5 feet above grade?
That's correct.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Doug?
No real questions. I'm always confused about garages in a flood zone, or I guess, but we do those. So, but it's
where it's raised, yeah.
Yeah, it's elevated on piles and it's a garage. So is it the structure above the garage? We don't have the elevation plans here. I was looking for them in my email.
Yeah, I don't see anything either for any detail.
To answer that question, this is in a FEMA zone AE at elevation 13. The requirements are that any finished habitable area be a minimum of 1 foot above that flood elevation. We're proposing the first floor at 15.5. Okay. We also did provide full structural engineered plans that have all those elevations on them in addition to this site plan.
Thanks, Greg. So, I wish we did. I didn't realize that we didn't have those. Anyways, so yes, barrier beach, coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage. I suppose we could probably close this pending structural plans. And just, I wanted to confirm that there's, it's going to be an accessory structure. Is there going to be an additional connection to the septic system? And is there enough septic capacity to handle this other flow? So, we're not looking at a increased septic system too on this one? Question.
Sure. So the septic system, there's no increase in flow into it because this is not a bedroom proposed. It's a single family home that's attached to the septic system. This does not add any bedroom capacity to that. We've been in touch with the Board of Health regarding that, and they are comfortable with that. Regarding the structural plans, I understood that you had them. In the event that you didn't, I just emailed them to both yourself and Jen Smith.
Okay, great, thanks.
So, Craig, I'm just looking at this. How did the people access this property before? The house fills up all of Revere Street. So do people just park on the street?
So they come in off of Postscript Lane, in the area where this is proposed is barren gravel surface right now. They park in this location already.
Because when I look at this plan, I'm seeing what they call a brush line.
Yep.
So it almost looks like that's vegetated there.
There's some scrub brush at that location. They drive around it on the left-hand side of this screen as you come in Postscript Lane. They drive around the left side of that brush onto where this garage is proposed.
I see. So that brush area is going to get removed?
Yes, that gets removed when the grade comes up.
Do we know what that is? What kind of vegetation that is?
Junk.
Well, depends if you're living in it or not.
Frank, we have John Eisen on the call, so I could unmute him and he could probably answer it.
Sure.
John, you're on.
Double muted. I'm going to have that put on a t-shirt. I think it's bayberry bushes in the back. And the intent would be to take as little of that as possible. Craig was right. We drive in. There's a word that says it looks like IP base. That's where we drive in, and we've been parking cars, where the garage would be put. The backstory is that I'm going to retire next year. Live in California now. We want to spend a lot of time in Hummerock and have a car that will be safe and protected when we're not there in the wintertime. And that's why we're going to go through the expense of putting it up above grade and protecting the vehicles.
Okay. All right, I guess my concern is when we're removing vegetation, it looks to me like I'm seeing like this curving grade lines, which to me makes it look like a big apron going into the garage. And so there's parking in front of the garage. Am I correct about that, Greg?
So those are the contour lines showing the elevation 15 at the street tying into the front of the garage. They're not necessarily an apron of a driveway of any kind. But the brush in front of the garage certainly would be moved for access.
In that vegetation, if we can't maybe get some vegetation along the side of the garage that has the 15-foot setback. I don't know what that is there at now.
There, you can see. I think it is. There's just weeds. Immediately to the left of the garage, closer to things. I think those are
some additional, bayberries or something like that.
Yeah, I love the bushes, and I don't know if they're how transplantable they are, but I would want to move them around and not, remove them if at all possible. I like what it does for the property. It's been helping build up sand and behind, and I'd like to keep that as much as possible. I might need to talk to some person who knows more about bayberry bushes than me.
I don't know whether you'll have luck transplanting them or not, but I think if we were to close this with that same provision that we had on the other one, so that there would be an opportunity for you to get us some sort of planting plan along that strip or somewhere else that would be, I don't know where else it would go.
The one that would be a really natural one would be on the I think it's marked as a 9-foot strip. There's already some vegetation there. We would want to keep as much of the bayberry bushes how to describe it, to the right, just above the word way, if we can, and maybe have it, kind of sweep in and then extend it. You can see that there's some posts along there. That would be a natural place to put some bushes or move them if we can.
Well, I think if we agree to close this, John, then part of one of the orders would be that we'd come up with a planting plan that's that the commission could agree on.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Okay.
Yeah, I
was good. Great, thank you. Okay, anybody else? We need a motion.
Make a motion to close, and we'll be expecting a planting plan.
Okay, we got Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Richard. All in
Yes.
favor, Doug?
Yep.
Jen?
Yes.
Andy? Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. 84 Jericho, Scituate Harbor Yacht Club. On April 5th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Scituate Harbor Yacht Club for work related to replacing existing timber pier, decking, handrails located at 84 Jericho Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Good evening.
Good evening. Again, for the record, this is Gregory Morse, registered engineer with Morse Engineering. Also with me on the call tonight is attorney Steve Gard. We're here on behalf of the Scituate Harbor Yacht Club for a notice of intent to replace their timber pier. The plan that we had submitted depicts the pier as it extends out from the land. It's approximately 240 feet in length, extends out into Scituate Harbor, and it's used for access to their marina and dock facilities. This area here is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's a velocity zone at elevation 16. The pier that's out there today is in poor condition. We submitted a photograph on the plan here, the photograph on the left there. You can see the existing timber piers. The pilings are starting to rot in several locations. There's been cross bracing added through the year to help alleviate that concern. But it's really gotten to the point where it's time to be doing a replacement project. There's an existing Chapter 91 license for this pier in place. And so the proposal would be to replace it essentially in the same location. The proposed layout is overlaid over the existing in the plan view here, and you'll see that it is generally in the same location. It is slightly wider, however. The existing walkway, the existing pier is 5 feet in width. Our proposal is to bring it up to 7 feet in width, which allows for handrails to be constructed. It allows for ADA compliance with the project, and we feel would have very minimal impact on the wetlands beneath it. The existing pier, it is of note, the existing pier are constructed on what they call bents. The pilings that were driven in on the existing layout were driven in at an angle, so that on the ground in the mud, essentially, they take up an area of 8 feet in width. Our proposal would be to come up with vertical timber pilings that are 8 feet. It would not be the bent layout that was previously used on this project. There are 36 pilings out there today associated with the pier. The proposal would be to replace it with 36 new pilings. They'd be 12-inch diameter pilings driven with a vibratory hammer. The work would be performed with a crane and a barge setup, similar to when the pilings were driven for their marina and dock facilities. The DEP did not have any comments and issued a DEP file number on this. We did receive a letter from Department of Marine Fisheries, which we would expect to be included as a condition if this project were to be approved. This is our first step in the approval process. Again, we would have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers as well as DEP Waterways after obtaining a local order of conditions to wrap up this project. The goal here would be to construct this project in fall of 2021 so that it could be put to use for the 2022 season. And turn it over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Andy?
You're muted, Andy.
Did we mute Andy or did he mute himself? There we go.
I'm okay for right now.
Thanks. Brendan?
Hey, Brendan.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I have no questions for this.
Okay. Jen?
Yeah, this definitely sounds like a much needed project. So probably be great for the area as well.
Penny?
She's muted.
Penny?
I'd move on. She looks like
Okay.
her off camera too.
Doug?
No questions at all. Some curiosities around the logistics of building this with the barge and crane with all those existing docks and boats around, and but that's not up for me. That's why you hire experts. So, but no questions about the proposal.
Okay. Richard?
I'd be a little interested, but not a big deal, about what fisheries had to say and if there are any time restrictions included. And in answer to Doug, probably that's why it's in the fall, because many of the boats are gone.
Right.
Amy?
Yeah, so like Greg said, there's a lot of other permits that are needed, primarily the Chapter 91 license and the Army Corps permit. And DEP had no comments. We can incorporate the EMF letter by reference into the orders. I think we should close.
Okay. And that is the process for this. So we go ahead and close, and then when there's feedback from like fisheries or something, do we?
Yeah, so, well, we have the feedback from fisheries, but if there's feedback in the layout, design, say, waterways, then they would submit to us the revised plan. But they need our orders in order to proceed further, so.
Okay. All right. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one? I think Steve was on with Greg. Did you have anything you wanted to add? Is that right?
Seeing no hands raised, let's go.
I make a motion to close.
Okay, that's Richard. I'll take a second.
A second.
Second from Brendan. So all in favor, Doug?
Yes.
Penny? Jen?
Yep.
Andy?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have
56 Peggotty Beach.
56 Peggotty. On April 5th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Mass General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Stephen and Stephanie West for work related to construction and an addition installing pools, landscape, and dwelling at 56 Peggotty Beach Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access to virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. And this is Morse Engineering.
Good evening. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. I believe with us on the call tonight are the property owners, Stephanie and Stephen West. We also have Alyssa Jones, who's the architectural designer, as well as Tricia Van Buskirk, who's the landscape architect associated with this project. The project's located at 56 Peggotty Beach Road, and it's a notice of intent associated with the construction of additions to the home and a significant landscaping project consisting of plantings at the property, as well as construction of a pool. The existing site is approximately 24,400 square feet. It's developed with an existing home. On the south, which is the bottom of the screen here, into the west, which is on the left-hand side of the screen here, it abuts the Atlantic Ocean. Coming up out of the Atlantic Ocean is a stone revetment, which is depicted at the bottom of the screen. And at the top of that stone revetment, highlighted in blue, we delineated a top of coastal bank. The property is located in zone VE, which is land subject to coastal storm flowage at elevation 21, which comes from the Atlantic Ocean and just misses the south side of the house. Where the proposed work is proposed is within zone X, which is outside of the floodplain area. The resource areas that we've depicted, the top of coastal bank, it has a 50-foot buffer zone to it, which is highlighted in red, and a 100-foot buffer zone, which is highlighted in green. For delineation of the coastal bank, we had used Stan Humphreys of Environmental Consulting and Restoration. I believe you have a memo from Mr. Humphreys regarding the delineation of the coastal banks. Delineation of coastal banks is done with respect to the DEP's policy 92-1, where we look at the land subject to coastal storm flowage, and then based on the topography and slope of the land, you have different delineation criteria for that coastal bank. So you'll see that there are different topographical features on this property and the property immediately to the east of this, which would delineate the coastal bank differently. Now, looking at the proposed site, the existing house is centrally located on the lot. It's kind of in a light gray on the screen here. The proposal are to add 2 additions to the home. The addition on the left side, you'll see, is just at the 100-foot buffer zone. The addition on the right side, or the eastern side of the house, is outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. They're outside the land subject to coastal storm flowage as well. On the right-hand side of the house, the eastern side of the house, off of that addition, we have a new proposed deck, and we have a new pool at that location. This is an area of the site that is existing lawn or existing gravel and sand surfaces. It's poorly vegetated. The pool is outside the 50-foot buffer zone. However, a corner of the proposed deck lies inside of that 50-foot buffer in that lawn, sparsely vegetated area. To mitigate the impact from that, we've proposed significant landscape plantings. We have the landscape architect with us tonight. She can answer any questions on the type or the quantities of plantings, but we included structural, I believe we included a structural layout for the additions. We also included the landscape architect's layout for all of the plantings here. DEP had no comments on this. This was put out for peer review with your wetland scientist, Bob Gray of Sebacia. I believe he's been satisfied. I don't know if he's on the call tonight, but I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Jen?
Oh man, me first.
Sure.
I think it's a great start to have all the plantings done ahead of time. It's super clearly laid out as well, I believe. I am concerned about a pool being inside the buffer. I mean, it's pretty close to that 50. It might even be touching it.
Sorry, house in the 50.
Yes, so there is already a house in the 50. But just, looking at, the new features being added to the site. Nothing else now, Frank.
Okay. Thanks. Richard?
Hey, actually, Frank, before we continue, can we see if Bob Gray's on the call?
Sure.
Bob, are you on the call? Can you raise your hand if you are, Bob Gray? Well, I don't see him, so I guess let's continue.
Okay. Richard?
Over and above what Jen said, I really don't have anything else right now.
All right. Doug?
I'm anxious to hear from the landscape architect on what type of plantings, but as this lays out, I can see what's going on. It's filling up a pretty small lot. So there's more impervious areas going to be happening here, but the mitigation of the plantings, I'm interested in hearing that. But other than that, I don't think I have any other questions.
Penny?
No, I'm all set.
Amy, do you want to hear from their landscape architect?
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
If I may address one thing while we're getting on. Landscape, the impervious areas on this site are actually reduced post-development. This site is serviced by a asphalt driveway, a bituminous concrete driveway. Our proposal is to remove that driveway and replace it with a pervious gravel driveway. So it offsets the areas. That driveway is entirely outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but it is all tributary, obviously, to the ocean at this location. I think that was important to note, that it's actually a reduction in impervious surface.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Is it Patricia?
Yes.
Is she on?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, this is Trisha Van Buskirk, landscape architect. If you'd like, I'll go through the plantings.
That'd be awesome, Tricia. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start along the seawall. That's 19 hydrangea Nico blue, so not native. But then up in that corner where there's dense plantings next to the pool, that's 31 Rosa Virginia rose, which are native. Along the front of the on the other side of the deck, along the front is potentilla. There are 6 of those. This is all within the 50, and 30 asters, eastern showy aster, also native, along the front of the deck.
What do you think of that, Doug? Sorry, that was.
I know, and I understand. I understand. I don't know anything about plants. I think my whole point about plantings is that I like to hear from experts on, because I don't know myself, but that we're replanting in the buffer zone, especially productive plants for the environment, and not not just simply
putting a lot of pretty plants in for that
turf and other species that might look nice but really don't do much for the environment. So that's but what I heard from her was, so yeah, thanks for
that's just
thanks for calling me out on a public hearing, Frank.
I know this is of great interest to you, so I just want to be sure you got everything you needed to know. I don't have a clue what some of those plants look like myself. I'm looking at the experts like Bob Gray's report and Brad's submittal to know what to think of it. But it does seem like they've made a good effort to plant a lot of those out, and also to put in to remove the asphalt in the driveway, which is a big deal to me. So.
Frank, I think we have Bob on the call now too. If you want to.
Oh, good. Yes, please.
Okay. Bob, this is you. You're on.
Finally.
We can hear you, but it's way echo.
Boy,
it's a problem.
Do you have any questions for me? Then I'll thank you.
It's kind of like looking in a double mirror. Bob, but just can you summarize real quick your thoughts on this?
Yes, I think how come we're getting this echo here?
Just keep talking. We'll...
Okay. When we made the original site visit, we had concerns about the lot to the west, which has been fully addressed now. And there were areas there that we thought might be coastal bank. It turned out that it was, but it's reflected now on the plan correctly. I also don't have any concerns with the proposed construction relative to the stability of the bank. So I'll take any other questions.
Do you feel comfortable commenting on the plant materials proposed, Bob?
I would say from what I heard described, they seem to be appropriate plantings.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Bob?
No, that was good.
Okay. Bob, thank you very much. We really appreciate your being able to review some of these for us.
Frank, I put him on mute because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy, do you have any other comments or anything for this?
No,
one?
so I mean, I was out there with Jeff and with Bob, and like Greg said, I mean, it's a disturbed site. As far as the fact that it's all lawn, impervious is reducing. Good robust planting plan. We did question the resource areas, but I think that was worked out, revised in the plan set. So, I mean, I think we're good to close, actually.
Okay. I'm just looking at the plan, Greg, and I'm seeing like proposed gravel drive in a spot. So there's an area that says existing gravel. So existing concrete. So that will be removed and it'll be gravel all the way to the street.
Correct.
Okay. Maybe with the exception of an apron or something. Okay. I'll take a motion from somebody.
Motion to close. Richard.
That was Richard. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was Penny. So all in favor, Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Andy?
Do we take public comment on this?
I thought I asked. Public comment?
Seeing none.
You know what? I should have circled back to Jen. I started the vote, but you heard the comments on the plantings and stuff and your concern about the pool, Bob's comments on it. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I will be. I don't know the difference between Rosa rugosa and the one that she talked about, but I'm going to Google it.
Okay. All right. You and Doug can look at that together. Maybe you should follow up on it.
Party.
Okay. All right. So who did I get through? We had
me, Andy.
Andy.
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Frank. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Night. Okay. 8 Newell Street.
Okay, John Zimmer, I got on.
Okay.
John, you're on.
Hi, good evening. Also with me tonight is Jeff DeLisi and Chris Wynn. Really, we don't have any new submittals in front of you. We just wanted to give you an update, especially on the portion of the project that is associated with the pool. And I think Attorney DeLisi would like to provide some comments on that.
Okay. Jeff, are you on?
So are we not going to hear on the dock tonight?
That's the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, the doc's on
Jeff,
next.
you're on.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to get in there. I just got promoted. Thank you to the board for hearing us. I know this matter's been kicking around for a while. As John said, I'm here. I'm recently new to the team. I'm here tonight with Chris Wynn is also present in the call. The application's been kicking around for a bit. Just to do a general recap, my clients bought the property a little over a year ago, and they inherited some challenging issues from the prior owner. Frank met me out at the site one day a couple of weeks ago so that he can get a better understanding of what's going on. I think it was very helpful. The property's improved with a single-family dwelling. It has 2 detached accessory buildings, and it also has a semi-in-ground pool that is decades old, and by all accounts, possibly prior to the adoption of wetland regs back into the 70s. The pool is unusable. It's in a dilapidated state, and its presence is probably contrary to the interests of the Act in its current state. And it's necessary, certainly, for the old pool to be removed. The proposal would be to replace it with an in-ground pool, a very small in-ground pool. There are some interesting aspects to the site, and I can pull up a plan on my screen if you'd like, but there's an old concrete seawall that basically is behind the house in the pool area and along the side of the property. And it's essentially separates the upland area of the property from the river. The old concrete seawall itself is in a really poor state and also is certainly not contributing to the interests of the Act. Beyond or eastward of the stone wall is an area that of dune that really has been scrubbed out and has really no vegetation on it at all, and is in a very poor state. So essentially my clients have moved in, and their goal is to clean up the property, to remove the pool. They've hired John and South River Environmental to do an assessment. John has proposed a mitigation plan, which designates an area over 4 times the size of the area proposing the area of the pool area where we're proposing to do the work. And that mitigation area would be basically a buffer enhancement plan with many, I think 60 shrubs, native shrubs, and 2,000 plugs of seagrass, really to create a dune where it doesn't really function or exist as a dune in that particular area. And so I believe also, do you guys, Amy, as I was talking, you haven't shared your screen in the plan, have you? Hello? Can you all hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah,
hold on one
Do you mind
second.
if I share my screen briefly?
No, we don't.
Amy, if you can give me the rights to do that.
No, we don't do that. Sorry.
Thank you.
You saying no? We don't have. Yeah, Jeff, can we? I guess we can't do that.
I just wanted to mention one other thing, Frank, before you ask any questions. Along the side of the road, coming in off Central Avenue is Newell Street, and it runs from Central Avenue to as it's laid out on a plan to the edge of the river. A few years ago, I don't know when it happened, but somebody basically closed off the road by a rock wall that essentially prevents access to the riverfront. And I think at least one commission member might have been a little disturbed by this and mentioned it at the past meeting. And so one of the aspects of what we're proposing to do is to break that wall so that the public or the members of or residents of Newell Street at least could access the riverfront. And we're open to building some kind of path in that regard. So the whole concept here is really to take what is a property that has a lot of really poor old aspects to it that really serve to be contrary to the interests of the act, and to replace the pool, obviously, but in so doing also create dune, create a resource area that actually functions like one and gives access to the riverfront for folks who have been prevented from doing so for the last few years.
Great. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. So
I think I had an opportunity to go out at Penny's urgings to go out and take a look, and I was surprised. Things look much different when you're standing there. So there is definitely a lot going on. A couple of questions came to mind. Maybe John can help with this. John, I was wondering about determining the top of coastal bank and how you derived at that line. I mean, there's obviously a wall there, but is it possible that we have more than one top of coastal bank at that location? John's muted. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. I don't believe that there is a secondary coastal bank there. I think you have a very small coastal bank, which is basically an artificial bank that's created by the seawall. If that little retaining wall was not there, it would basically go from the salt marsh right into a coastal dune. But I don't think you have the slope aspect associated with the floodplain to create a secondary coastal bank there.
Okay. So that was one of the thoughts I had. Just wondering where we're going to take this evening. What I was hoping to do is get some input. I think we're not anticipating closing this, at least I wasn't, but maybe get some input from members as to their thoughts on this project, pose some questions or whatever to the applicant. So if there's additional information they need to gather, we could get that back to them and input from Amy at the same time. So Doug, do you
I appreciate the more detail on the plantings this time, and I think Jeff just said it's 4 times the amount of disturbance for the pool. Is that correct? Did I get that?
I think so.
So in area, so is that an area, because I have not seen the site, but is that an area that is poorly vegetated now? And then I heard something like 2,000 grass dune plugs. That does sound like a benefit.
I'll handle that, Jeff. You're correct, Doug. The site is pretty sparsely vegetated. There's some scrub vegetation. So what the goal of the restoration plan was to, one, remove the retaining wall to allow the dune to basically function as it should, kind of natural accretion and movement, which that retaining wall kind of stops it from doing right now. But second is to really revegetate it and, not only improve the stability of it, but also to improve some of the wildlife habitat associated with it, and put in a little bit more vegetative structure. And then also, basically, have that dune area. I believe we also included some conservation markers in there so that there's no further encroachment in there in the future. So basically to protect that dune, moving forward.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think that extra bit of information is helpful, John.
Right. The other thing that we wanted to come back to the commission, I know that we've talked about the restoration at a previous hearing a little while back. Well, it was to come back and talk about the area at the end of Newell Street, because that's something that we hadn't discussed before, was to basically reopen that access at the end of Newell Street for, that aesthetic or recreational activity down to the river. And we could do some additional restoration on that side as well.
Gotcha. No, thank you. That helps me anyways.
Yeah, just to amplify on John's plan, which I believe was filed with the commission a few months back, 30 beech rose or Rosa rugosa shrubs, 30 northern bayberry shrubs, and 2,000 plugs of beech grass, in addition to the removal of the concrete wall. And then the concept would be that the area of disturbance is around 800 and some odd square feet. This area of restoration would be about 3,700 square feet, and the concept would be to use the native material or the material in the area where we would be doing the work and redeposit it in order to kind of build up that dune.
Okay, thanks. I want to, hopefully we get some feedback from the members on all this stuff. We're going on 3.5 hours into our meeting, and as much as I love this stuff, I want to give you guys some direction and not run too long.
We understand.
Penny?
I think plantings, that you'd want to do that anyways. The easement has to be opened up. My problem is you want to put an in-ground pool in a dune. And that's like putting a foundation in, which we would never allow in a dune. And it's a foundation that's full of water. I can't get past that it is in a dune. Everything sounds lovely that he wants to do down there, and I would want to do that anyways, whether I had a pool or not, if I was the applicant. But I'm not the applicant. I can't get past putting an in-ground pool in the dune. I just can't get past that. I don't think we should be doing that. We should be allowing an in-ground pool in a dune, coastal dune.
Right. Jen? Thank you, Penny.
I would share a lot of Penny's sentiments. I think we've previously heard, or like, a pool has a wall. We don't allow walls in this area. So I just have a hard time even just getting over over that concept. But I would let Amy expound technically on why that's not okay.
Okay. Andy?
I think, yeah, similar things. I like a lot of the things that are being proposed here, and I think it was not. I think we had received guidance from the state, if I'm not mistaken, suggesting that a pool in the dune was just not doable. So that seems to be a big hang-up.
Okay, thank you, Brendan.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with what people are saying here. What I'm hearing, I'm pleased to hear all the things that are, opening up that access for Noble Street. But the pool is the sticking point. So that's where I'm at.
Amy, do you want to elaborate some more?
I'm not really sure what you want me to say. I mean, I guess that I appreciate the update and, the offer of restoration and regaining public access or those that are entitled to the access on work that was done in the easement. There's a wall that was built there. Also, we well know that there's quite a lot of other unpermitted work that's gone on out there. So no doubt, this restoration would be good for the site and, clean the site up. It's just straight up not allowed or does not meet the performance standards for coastal dune for the in-ground pool. Perhaps there are other options that they should come forward with that are more readily approvable, such as, there was the, unpermitted in-ground pool. Not above ground pool that is in, falling apart. I don't know if you want to allow replacement in kind of that type of a pool, or maybe, you're looking at more of a temporary structure there. Definitely the site is susceptible to storm damage and flooding. So there's a lot going on. But, we don't have a plan in front of us. So I guess that's just comment.
Okay.
But I do agree, Frank, that we are 3.5 hours into this meeting. So we need to move this along. Sure. And May 17th is the date we've got selected for continuing the dock portion of the project. So I would say that we should take this back then too.
Okay. Have I touched on everybody? Richard's reclused himself. So I guess you've heard just about everybody's comments.
Haven't heard yours.
So, well, I think I'm between certainly glad to hear that someone that owns the property is taking the interest in wanting to clean everything up there, and I get that. And certainly when someone wants to do that, they also have other things that they want to do, and so I get the change up in the pool from a dilapidated piece to something that's a lot nicer. If the structure is absolutely not allowed, I guess that would be the part that you'd have to really go back and look at and see if you can, how you would disagree with that, or how we could deal with that issue. I certainly want to see the improvements move forward, and I guess if I were the applicant, and I wanted to do a bunch of things to my property, I'd be doing them under the. I wouldn't be spending all that time and money if I wasn't getting the kind of enhancements that I wanted. So trying to look to find a medium that both things could be addressed. And maybe we can discuss that some more.
Yeah.
Just a couple of questions, if you would. I think Andy mentioned that you received some guidance from the state. I'm not sure that, at least I know I haven't seen that. I'm relatively new to the project, so I'm wondering if that can be shared with me. I do think that, it's important, I think, for the board to understand that there is an existing structure there that is completely unusable at the moment. And if like Frank, I think you said is there's a give and take on this is we're trying to, I think I would encourage the commission to look at kind of a net benefit of the project. I know that generally speaking, putting pools in a coastal dune is something that you don't want to do. I guess I'm just, and I know that we're going to continue the hearing, encouraging the board to recognize the reality of this particular property and what's happening with the existing pool and wall and dune. It's kind of all connected in a sense. And it would be, it's an opportunity, I think, to really enhance the resource area. And that's what really makes this unique, is we're not seeking to build a pool where there's not a pool. And my understanding is that it is a portion of it's above ground and a portion is below ground. So it might be, I might want to suggest if the commission has an appetite for it, maybe to, I think it might be helpful to have an on-site on this one, but I'll defer to the commission. I understand.
We already had on-sites, Jeff.
Okay, I'm sorry. Like I said.
Say that again, Amy.
We've already had on-sites on this one. This project's been going on for over a year.
I was under the impression that, Frank, you hadn't been out there.
I hadn't.
Well, he didn't come, but
I think Doug hasn't, but I think everybody else has.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
This
comment we have from CZM, which is part of the record, Jeff. So the applicant should forward that to you, or we can get it to you. No problem.
Okay. This revised colored plan too, if you want to submit it, Jeff, that's one that you shared with me. Feel free to do that.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I think given the time of night that we're at, I'd like to
make a motion to continue.
Yes.
I make a motion that we continue 8 Newell Street pool and dock to May 17th.
A second?
Second.
Is Doug. So all in favor, Jen?
Jen stepped away for a second.
Okay, Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay. All right. Thank you for being on tonight. Appreciate it. I know it's late. What else do we have on our agenda?
We have administrative items, vote orders, and an ORAD.
Okay.
Do you want me to start it?
Sure.
I make a motion, we accept the orders, the condition as written. Can I do all 3 of them together or 2 of them? And then the ANRAD 12 Oceanside Drive and 15 Treasure Island Road as written.
Is that, are we doing Treasure Island as written?
Thought so.
There was a piece.
We're taking out the comments that Jeff had made earlier about inconsistencies with irrigation and so on.
Okay.
So those are corrected, but as written, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Doug?
Yes.
Jen? Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay.
Okay, and the ORAD. I always get confused how I motion this, Amy. I make a motion, we accept the ORAD of 626 Chief Justice Cushing.
Yep.
Second.
So that was Penny with a motion. Richard is second. Doug?
Yes.
Jen? Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay.
Okay.
One more annoying administrative thing. Do we have to continue the doc on 8 Newell?
I think Penny lumped them together.
She did.
Yes, I did. I put the two together. I was trying to save time.
I may have missed that. My
Do you
apologies.
want me to separate them?
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay. 48 man lot, the restoration plan. Do we have that up?
We have it on for discussion on the agenda, but I'm not sure we've got it as part of the PowerPoint. Oh, nope, here it is. Okay.
All right, just do it.
So I think if I could, want me to try to shorten this up or explain this. So I think most of you heard this before, but we conditioned a project, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that, with a restoration plan. Part of that was never completed. The applicant owner came in for CFC, discovered that that wasn't done. We went out to the site and we found inconsistencies with that plan and not having that restoration. So the applicant put out a new restoration plan, which seems to me like it's there we go. As a greater area than the old one. To me, it seems like it would work. Just wonder if anybody else has any questions or comments.
Take a motion to accept this new plan then.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. We accept this new planting plan on, what's the address? It's
48 man lot.
48 man lot.
So I have a motion from Penny.
I second it.
Second from Brendan. All in favor?
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Through that, they're actually restoring wetlands?
I think there's a combination. Yes.
It's some of it, the restoration is an active wetland area. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So I had a motion from Penny, a second from Brendan. Richard?
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, someone has their hand up. Is that?
Please.
Grozier?
This isn't a hearing, so we're just doing this as an administrative item.
Okay.
They're not speaking.
So I have Richard, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Andy is Andy?
Yes.
Okay, and Brenda made the motion. Frank, yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Do we want to, what else do we have now?
We have town meeting next week.
Monday.
Adjourn.
Amy, do you want to allow this person or see what this is?
Okay, it's not on the agenda.
But whatever.
Who are they?
Whatever, it's been 5 hours.
Just
Hi there. This is Amy Rozier. I'm at 72 Kenneth Road.
What road?
72 Kenneth Road.
Yes, Amy.
I just sort of wanted to go on record regarding the property at 33 Oceanside and make sure that you all understand that there's stuff that's been going on as recently as this weekend, and see if there is an update whatsoever as to what's going on there. I don't know if this is the correct forum for that.
It's a public meeting. So have you contacted the office about that, Amy?
Yeah.
And do we have Amy did?
Yes, so we have received emails. This is the one with the superseding order of conditions being handled by the state.
So you know that, Amy, right? Did you also contact the state, because this is the one that has the superseding order?
Correct, but I'm not getting a response from Greg either.
All right. Well,
I guess I'm just trying to figure out, who has oversight on this, because the DEP obviously isn't showing up in the neighborhood, and it's been 6 months since he had a cease and desist. And to my knowledge, that has not been lifted, but he installed sod this weekend, up to the point where his plan is to replace the rock wall that they made him take down in September.
all right, Amy, it's after 9 o'clock and we started at 5:30, but it's the first time. I mean, I know that there's some things going on there. Let me see if we can send something to DEP and find out what their intention is, okay? And then Jen in our office can get back to you and we'll let you know what we found out.
That'd be great. And I honestly, I have gotten contact from the office. I am so not complaining about any contact from lack of contact from them.
We get your frustration. We get your frustration.
Make sure that it's that it's on the record.
Yep. We're public board. It's a public meeting and you have the right to do that. And
Thanks, Amy.
We'll see what we can figure out. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Take care.
Make a motion to adjourn? Or do you want to talk?
Don't forget, no, I don't want to talk. Town meeting, just encouraging everybody to be there. And I think that's it. Good.
Okay.
I appreciate everybody sticking with this. I think that's a lot of hours. Okay.
That's a tough one.
So Penny, you made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jen got that one. Richard? Yes.
Okay, if you insist.
Doug?
Yes.
Insist.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Night all.
Frank, yes. Thanks so much. Night.
Night all.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Night, everyone.
See ya.
I don't think we dallied on anything. I just think it took forever.